Hello, everyone, and welcome to the LightBringers podcast number 19. I hope you're all well wherever you're listening to or watching this. If you're on YouTube, hello. If you're on Twitch live, hello, live. And also, if you're listening to this audibly on Spotify, iTunes, or anywhere else, or any kind of awesome podcast website, welcome, and I hope you are well. We're going to be talking about Elite Specializations, the last three, our ideas, plans, thoughts, and feelings before the big preview on the 27th, because we're not sure exactly what they're going to preview. So I want to get these all out there before. And I've got three awesome guests that you will be able to hear right now and see very shortly. Ominous music, because it's needed, I think, with this group of people.
Very appropriate.
Something like that.
Yes. Hi, everyone.
Hello, everyone. I hope we're good. So today we're going to be talking to World of Vendors, Boots, Kroof, spelt right, by the way, and also Bird of Chess.
Hello. Jebro, there's actually a problem with your name. You're missing an O.
Yeah, the other O that you're supposed to have at the end of your name.
For Jebro.
Yeah,
that's true.
What happened to that? Did you just decide to kick it down the stairs?
I'm not going to be known as Jebro anymore. I'm just going to be Jebro. Just went
This is a really big change.
Yeah. If you didn't listen to last week's episode, that's a good cue to go and do that, so you know what the hell we're talking about.
See, good marketing skills. Good
marketing skills, poor marketing skills. I don't know. One of the two. Two options, always good. Bird of Chess, how you doing? What's going on? Tell us what you do, where you do it, and also... Your hair looks nice today.
Oh, Jeb, that's so nice. Your hair looks nice too.
I appreciate that. I did shave it like a couple of days ago. There's a little bit there.
Yeah, it looks nice. It looks.
I like to give compliments, everyone.
Is smooth a good compliment? It looks smooth.
You don't have to compliment me back.
I like the 5 o'clock shadow situation.
Yeah, it looks good.
Yeah.
That's all.
Well, thank you. It's very kind of you, Jeb. Hi, everybody. I'm Rook, aka Bird of Chess. I do think personally that your head looks smooth is a good compliment, but you know what? Now, upon second consideration,
you know, like as human
not
beings,
so much.
when we get a compliment, we're not sure what to do sometimes, and sometimes
I mean,
we
it's
have
true.
to compliment back, or we can't. We're not used to just saying thank you very much. That's lovely.
I mean, it's true. Thank you very much, Jeb. It means a lot. It means a lot. Thank you.
Or you can tell
me
to F off as well.
Jeb, I want you and your smooth head to F off. Just get out.
Okay, sorted.
Everybody, hello. It's great. It's a great day to be here with all of you, to be here with all of our guests, and also with any of you who are listening wherever you are, or if you're with us live right now. Hello, I'm Rook, aka Bird of Chess. I'm a broadcaster with a focus on Final Fantasy XIV and Guild Wars 2. I feel like you probably know a little bit about me if you've listened to any of those previous episodes. If not, yeah, go do the archives, go through it. But I am a big feelings, big hype, big ball of laughter usually when we play games, but also somebody that loves having good conversations, discussions, and so it's really great to be able to talk with all of you on podcasts and things like this as well. So I'm very excited to be here. Thanks, Jen.
And I'm very excited about something else coming up with you, which we should mention right now.
It's a good time to set it, actually. Yes, I was gonna do it afterwards with a little bit more of a focus on that, but let's do it now because Boat's
this way we can cut off and not introduce the rest of us. Just go straight to this.
Yeah.
Don't need it. Don't think we're gonna let you get away with not being introduced. It's gonna happen here, and we're gonna talk about each of your hair in tandem. So we're gonna go through it, and we're gonna compliment everybody's hair.
I was gonna give everyone a compliment because that was what I was gonna do. That was the plan. So, like, the plan is this. Thank you very much, Bird of Chess. It's awesome to have you here, and we'll talk about your stuff in a moment. I promise.
Sure.
Boots World of Vendors is here.
Hi.
And looks fantastic, beaming with lights, and has a great lighting setup. I compliment you massively on
Fuck
it.
off with your cup. Fuck off.
Your hair has a nice tousled look to it today. You know, like a little textured kind of.
Thank you. Yeah, I like to have follicles in my hair. You know, like actual.
I'm not bothered about being bald. I don't know why anyone cares about this. This is a thing that people seem to think on Twitch as well. It's like they come in and they just say bald. and they say, "Do you know you're bald?" I'm like,
I'm just milking it while it lasts for me. In like 10 years, I'm gonna be as bald as you. It'll be glorious.
being bald, people can't tell how old you are, okay? Because I don't go grey. I don't go grey. I don't lose my hair because I can't lose it anymore. Actually, yeah, I don't know. It's I don't know. Yeah.
I don't know. I think your bald look is iconic, to be honest. Sometimes people will say to me on stream, or they'll like come in and be like, "Oh yeah, well, you know, I'm bald, and you know, I had to shave all my hair, and I wish I could do things with it." And then I'll be like, "Oh, but I actually think being bald can be a great look." And anytime they respond with something where they're like, "Yeah, totally can," I immediately see you in my mind's eye, Jeb. I'm like, yes, it can. It can. Jeb proves it.
Seriously, everyone go bald now. Thank you. That was a compliment as well. I thank you very much.
It was definitely a compliment.
Thank you. We're being nice to each other today.
Did we just bypass my intro?
No, we didn't.
I'm good with that.
No. Twitter, YouTube, all the things. We don't have time to mess around today. Tell me what you do.
World of Enders. Boots, that's my name, and nom de plume, if you will, and on YouTube. Do the builds, do stuff here, do stuff on Host of Ascalon, do stuff with WP, which will lead me to announcement as well at some point during this thing, probably after Kroof's thing, and that's it. That's me.
Succinct, clear.
Sort of.
The judges say 10 out of 10.
Awesome. And last but certainly not least, Kroof is here with a fantastic look today. Looks wonderful, amazing. The effort you put in weekly is appreciated on this final speculation week. We're gonna have to see what happens when there isn't a a potential idea for this, but you can do whatever you want. Tell us what you do, where you do it, and then we're gonna start talking about the things.
Thank you so much, Jeffro. I truly love your lips. They look very nice.
Thank you very much.
And all that stuff. But hi everyone, I'm Kroof. Quick story time, I gave myself a chemical burn yesterday. So one might say that I did not have Condi cleanse to remove the burning, but that's sad. Anyways, I'm much better. Hey everyone, I'm Kroof. I do a lot of YouTube stuff, and I stream on Twitch Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. My Twitter will post some memes every once in a while, so if you want to get maybe a good laugh, maybe not a good laugh, please go over to my Twitter. Please. I'm begging you. Someone please. I just need some engagement. But yeah, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much. And yeah, hi everyone.
Okay, so we have the Guild Wars 2, we're calling it a preview. I'm actually going to get that up on the screen. It's the End of Dragon's First Look live stream, which is what it's going to be officially called. This is next week on the 27th. So the reason why you have been listening or have been glorified, you have been blessed, I don't know, with our presence for weeks, next to weeks, by week, every week. For the last couple of weeks.
Are you okay, Jebra?
No, it's been a day. I've had good news, I've had bad news. It's a mix of feeling. I'm in one of those days where I'm like, I've got bad news, I've got good news. I'm like, not sure what to think and feel. Do you know what I mean? It's like, you know, one of those things where you're like, I don't know where I am.
I guess.
And
I'm
it was just before
hyper,
the stream.
super excited today, so.
So it's like, oh God, I don't know. It's mostly good, I think. I don't know. But yeah, so this live stream is next week, and basically I wanted to get out like a ton of speculation about the specs before the live stream, just in case they give us any images, which makes us a little bit more defined in terms of, you know, what we might think. I wanted to go completely
on the
out
record.
there. Yeah,
so that
exactly,
on the record we could be extremely wrong.
Well, no, but like, no.
I'm sorry.
We've gone so wide with this. We must be right about
I think every single one of our predictions is going to be accurate. Every one. I think we're going to get multiple elite specs actually for each, and they're going to encompass every single thing we came up with. And yeah, I'm just going to bank on that. I feel very confident in this statement.
I mean, I don't mind being wrong is definitely not a bad thing. As long as I'm wrong and the elite spec is really good, then that's fine.
No.
I made my entire career on being wrong. It's great.
I'm never wrong, so.
Speculation is good.
Thank you. Kroof understands how the internet works. We're all infallible human beings, and nothing we say is ever incorrect.
Especially on Twitter.
No,
yeah.
I have an ironclad resolve, so I just slipped into like a Jersey accent there. I don't know why, but anyway.
Indeed. So also, before this stream happens, this is at 9 a.m. Pacific, and then at 8 a.m. Pacific, we have our very own Bird of Chess that will be hosted before the stream. I'm not sure what the arm
may I
movements
be
are.
the first and only person to congratulate you for doing the pre-show. That's really cool.
But
Thank you so much. Yeah, I didn't want to say that the co-hosts today, the fact that neither one of them said anything kind to me about this, or have done beautiful YouTube videos or tweets about it, or have just been so supportive. I mean, your soul support really does matter. No, I'm kidding. All three of you beautiful human beings. I can't even. I've been so nervous about this. And before I even realized that the announcement had gone live, I think all of you had congratulated me. And then Kroof, like the day of, posts a video and is like, I'm so happy for Rook. And I was like, what's wrong with you like this?
I'm hot on the press, guys. Hot on the press.
It's true, Kroof is there all the time. Like just on the website, literally. Darkened out office. Just like, oh! There's a picture. The ad changed. Something's happening. So
I really am.
So please, like in your own words, Bird of Chess, because I think this is your thing. Like, so what's happening? What is the deal? Your name is on the website. You know what's going on?
Yeah, I'm so excited. I genuinely am. I mean, honestly, it's funny because you say this is like my thing, but honestly, I mean, I can't say enough that without the other ArenaNet partners, without all of you, viewers, listeners, anybody, I mean, it's wild to me because content creation a lot of times feels like something that we do really specifically on our own, but it's not. Like, it's never in a bubble where only we exist, and without, I mean, just everybody just being so wonderful and contributing so much to this community, we wouldn't have amazing opportunities like this, and I feel just deeply, deeply, deeply honored to be the pre-show host for the End of Dragons live stream. First look on Tuesday next week. I mean, I am so pumped about it. So we're going to be live that hour before everything else kicks off. We're going to usher in the 15-minute countdown together. There's going to be a ton of stuff going on that day, the stream and all the things. And then the post-show afterwards are going to have giveaways. We're going to obviously have these huge announcements. So many other creators are also going to be reacting live. So check out their channels. I'm sure a lot of them will also be doing community chest giveaways. I'm sure all of you will probably be live as well. So
yes,
tune in.
Actually, I just thought of something. Can I give away some community chests here today?
I mean, you can in the chat if you want. It's not. People won't be able to win this on the recording.
I told you or something.
In the record, maybe they can't. The people who do this, who listen to this later, can't win one, unfortunately, because it's live.
No, but there are 4,000 people in chat right now, and I think.
Yeah.
If you want to give one away or two away, it's up to you. We can read it. You can probably do that if you're.
We'll find maybe between each elite spec, we'll do a little giveaway.
Ooh, okay. I mean, if anybody can do it, Reader Geek can. I would trust Reader Geek with my life. I want to be honest about this. I would be like, I don't trust anybody else but you. So, look out for me. And I'm pretty sure Reader Geek would.
I just want to reiterate, and then we're going to talk about the first elite spec. This is a Guild Wars 2 Blood Pass. I've got this up on the video as well at the moment. So it says, save the date next week on July 27th. Join us for an in-depth look at our third expansion, Guild Wars 2 End of Dragons. We've got a tidal wave of full content lined up, including expansion features, a trailer, details on the story and setting, elite specialization beta information. Ooh, that's the big one. Interviews with the development team and more. The stream begins at 8 a.m. Pacific time, UTC -7. With our pre-show, UTC is pretty much GMT, people. Hosted by ArenaNet partner
Bird of Chess. Bell. Everyone, emotes in chat, claps around. Congratulations, Rilla.
Oh, you are. I'm so really, honestly, I can't stop saying it. I'm so excited. Oh my gosh, I really am. And I mean, not just because as well, the news we're going to be getting and to be able to be in this moment with everybody and all of you, it's going to be fantastic. So again, while I am so glad to be doing this and I can't wait, and we'll have more details soon about what that pre-show and everything else encompasses. I again, just check out everybody else too. Watch all the other streams happening that day because, again, I am so inspired by so
The
many
pre-show, you go to Rook.
Yes.
Absolutely. For the other things, you go to other channels, but yeah.
It'll be much appreciated because since they asked, I'm like, yeah, that sounds amazing. I'd love to. I've loved doing projects with you, so this has been really great. I'd love to. And then after that, every waking second, just off has been like the internet dial-up sound, and I'm staring into like the void in my computer room, like,
You're like,
this is gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine.
what did I sign up for? Here we go.
Are
No,
you
it's
gonna be?
It's
Are you
good.
gonna be on your channel or on the Guild Wars 2 official channel, or is it gonna be hosting you?
I will be on the Guild Wars 2 channel.
Okay, good
so-
information. Good to know.
So, and of course, I'll let everybody know if anything else comes up or changes. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, and I can't wait to see you all there and to get hyped together and to take a look at everything, that we're just so looking forward to with this new expansion and all of the stuff that has led up to it. So I'm ready. I'm pumped. I'm excited, and I can't wait. Thank you all so much for the support. Like, really, genuinely, Jeb. I know we tease you. I know all of us take the piss out of each other, but like, really, genuinely, thank you
I
for the
get it,
support
nice.
as well and the hype. You too, probably, yeah.
Okay.
Oh.
all the loves.
Okay. Awesome. So what were you watching on Monday? All right, peeps. We got to
Tuesday.
talk about the Elite Special on Tuesday. Sorry, not Tuesday, not Monday. Jesus Christ. The day
days
that
are
it's
blending
on,
together.
Tuesday, 8 a.m. Pacific. Okay.
I think I'm gonna be doing a live react during the thing. Should I do a live react of your pre-show as well?
That's probably what everyone's going to be doing, Boots. It is a launch. It is a preview launch day. That's
Yeah,
what
I
that's what
want you to
streamers
be
do.
incredibly critical and harsh about it so that I can learn and grow from the experience. So
Okay, done.
We
Over
don't
on
criticize though.
WP's
We
channel.
just talk about what's going on. Okay, so we're talking about first of all Elementalist. Boom. Okay. Elite Specializations are awesome. I'm just gonna have this playing in the background because it's just the kind of core abilities from back in the day of Elementalists. So what are we thinking for this? What's going on? Let me have a look at my little document we go through in order to talk about the things, and we're like, okay, what is this class missing in Guild Wars 2 right now in its Elite Specializations, or even the core specializations? Chat, you can chime in. What's it missing? What's going on? What's happening? Boots, do you want to start? What's happening?
Sure. It's okay. So Elementalist is in a weird spot in that I love it.
Yeah.
But it like
okay.
it's undervalued in a lot of situations. So in raiding, for example, it has a pretty decent support spec, like pretty good.
Probably the best healer.
I was gonna say, I think
raw
it does
healing.
the most amount of healing, as opposed to in like burst windows.
Yeah, but for like a buffing spec, not so much. It's okay.
That's the issue. A little bit of might, right? Not much
Yeah,
else.
it gives might.
Yeah.
It gives,
Regeneration,
used
blah,
to be
blah.
able to give fury. I don't know if it does anymore.
Protection.
But yeah, so it's not the best buffing spec. It's a very good healing spec. It's it could probably, that's what it could probably use a very good buffing spec. It doesn't have a very decent DPS spec either because although it does a ton of DPS, like a ridiculous amount of DPS, the main criticism is that it's easy to kill. You can get around that if you're good, but
What about raids? Like, how's the DPS in raids though?
it's good in raids. It's
How many people
Yeah.
How many people need to play that spec, that one character, to enable you to completely get off that rotation? Like, have you seen it? What is it, like 50 abilities? I don't know. Maybe I'm being a little
Yeah,
bit.
it's very difficult.
lot.
It's not easy. You could also just do what I did, which is take a Earth Shield and do 30k DPS by auto attacking.
That's what you do.
Yeah, yeah.
That's very interesting.
But you shouldn't do that. Other than that, in PvP, I mean, again, it's got a strong-ish 1v1 kind of spec,
Yep.
side noter, but it's not super strong in PvP.
It's very much like you have to be. I feel like it's got a high skill cap a lot of the time for different things, and it's more of a like if you can play it really, really well, you're gonna be, you know, that top echelon of players. If you can't, you're gonna be a potato on fire.
I mean,
And you know what? I love me a flaming potato.
yeah, I do like a hot potato.
Depending on content, obviously. Unless you just enjoy playing it and running around, you know. I'm talking about like the top end, the top echelon of like whatever.
The creme de la creme.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and it depends what you want to get out of it. As per usual, like with all of these things, it all really depends on the fun times you want to get out of it, because you know it's very flashy, it's very animated, it's very graphical, it looks lovely, it's got tons of effects. You can go into the ground, come out of the ground. Oh, just cruise randomly. And
that's my participation for the stream.
Okay, good stuff. But like it looks, you know, it's cool. But I like Rich is saying, you know, it kind of misses these buffs and stuff. But what do you think, Rook and Criff? Is there anything else missing from it that, you know, maybe Boots hasn't mentioned, or is that?
Would you like to go first, Rook? Or
Oh, wait, thank you, Crew. Sure, I will. No, it's interesting to me because I actually do really like having classes in an MMO that are maybe more of that high skill ceiling sort of class. Of course, that always creates this question of like, well, if other classes are doing more but are less finicky or less niche or less, you know, like really specific or punishing when it comes to rotations or things like that, then is it going to be something that, again, you know, is going to be played really a lot by a lot of people? So, I mean, of course, that's always a part of it, but I like having classes that are there for people who do want to learn something like that and do really enjoy engaging with it. With that said, I mean, yeah, while it is a really strong healer, specifically in raids, I do think that you don't always see it taken in unless it is something where you really are maybe struggling with like that healing throughput versus like just the raw might of druid, or, you know, these other kind of buffs and things that tend to kind of maybe take that slot ahead of it. So maybe getting something that would allow it a little bit more of that, or that would give it something kind of unique that it could do. You know, I've heard people talking about yeah, you know what I mean? It's because it's good and you can do a lot with it. It's not like, again, it's not like this is, you know, a little garbage. It's not like a little garbage burning potato. It's like you can do a lot with this class, and you know, there's a lot that you can enjoy in it, but does it really have that niche that you use it for really specifically? I'm not sure. So I'd like to see it just get something that it does really well specifically.
Yeah, so maybe that's something unique is what it's missing, because right now, like, I guess it uniquely is the best purveyor of auras. Like, it could give out auras best of any class. Unfortunately, auras aren't that impactful unless it's for a very specific purpose.
Yeah.
And unless it's permanent.
Some of them in PvP.
Yeah.
Like stun, reflect.
Exactly. Of course, reflect. Yeah. Also, it used to have like an arcane power, the arcane power skill that for a little while could have been counted kind of as the unique element that it brings, because it did a lot of extra damage for a short amount of time because of it. But then they nerfed that to be in line with other things to do the same amount of damage as things. So yeah, if it could provide a unique buff, I think that's probably what is missing. A unique buff or buffs in general.
Yeah, maybe they could retool something with auras. That might be, I mean, it might be interesting.
It would be also very nice if it could give itself, like on a completely different vein, if it could give itself quickness and maybe alacrity.
Well,
everyone loves quickness and alacrity so much.
It doesn't have access to quickness or alacrity, except for on the hammer conjure for quickness.
Interesting. And you would think that something like some kind of, I don't know, an air element theme or something like that would lend itself to that kind of concept well, where you could do that quickness kind of feel on it. Yeah.
Okay, so let's go. So let's go to Kroof. Is there anything else left there that you got lost on that one? So sorry about that.
Department. Oh, no worries. The only area that I would kind of enjoy seeing expanded upon or like focused in on would be a new long-ranged weapon that is condition focused. We already have a long-range staff, and it's more so power, some access to conditions because they're kind of peppered throughout all of the weapons, but maybe something a bit more focused on condition damage over time. I'm a little hesitant for burning, but of course with fire it'd probably be there. But I'd like to see some like confusion, maybe a little bit of poison on Earth.
Fire
like
doesn't
some of
have
these
to
more
always be
niche
burning.
things.
Engineer's got a flamethrower and is a power weapon. So
I could see
That's
confusion.
true, but for the condition.
So I
I've
wrote a few
seen-
things down here, and I think that confusion and torment can be an option with an idea for the functionality I have here. I'll get to that later, I think.
Mhm.
Oh, I like
So
that.
yeah, I
mean,
would say some long range stuff could be a little bit nice.
there's a lot of things you could do with that. Water, even I've seen like in Final Fantasy 14, they have a like permanent thing called like drowning. That's like a water effect that you do that causes damage over time. They could totally do something like that with each of the elements. Poison for Earth, I
Yeah.
think makes a lot of sense. Burning for fire. It's actually kind of funny that out of the classes, Elementalist doesn't have that really strong condi, because you would think with the fire element that it would.
Well, it
with
does have
that
a very
range.
strong condi spec, actually, but not at range, yeah.
Not at range,
Not
not
at
at range.
range. No. I mean, even at range, like, yeah, it's an interesting one. Okay, so let's think about what this theme could be. No, I mean,
Oh, also, Jeb,
Yeah.
real quick, do you
I'm not adding to
think
anything
that
I'm not adding
Do you
anything.
think-
You all said something, so I don't need to add to it.
do you think that the devs considered the downside of Elementalist being that it is so difficult to use, or do they like that about Elementalist? Because do you think that they'll make an elite spec that's simpler, or do they like? I personally love the fact that it's difficult to use.
I think you're
do
right.
the devs think that
Yeah.
it's something that they want to keep in the game?
I don't know if it's. I think Elementalist in its entirety, even just existing as a core spec, was always going to be difficult for people to pick up immediately. I think what.
But
Rick
like,
said
are they
as
going to
well
make a
is
spec
true.
that'll encourage? Because so at the beginning of the game, when it was just the core specs,
Sorry,
a lot of people learning Elementalist were like, okay, I'm a fire Ellie. I'm gonna stick in fire and do all the fire spells. I'm gonna do lots of damage. And another
That
person's
was
like,
me.
yeah,
I mean-
I'm a water Ellie. I'm gonna stick in water and just heal everybody.
Yeah.
I
And then-
leveled in staff water. It was awful.
But raids,
Yeah.
in raids, you can literally you stick to like 2 elements, right? There, I
Well,
mean,
right, yeah.
but then in PvP, in World v World, you want to switch around just because of defense, right? Like you've got your defensive rotation, you've got your offense rotation. If you've got like
Yeah.
focus, you've got vulnerability. If you've got
Right, but
water interrupts
people
and stuff.
eventually learned, when it's not for a specific raid scenario, eventually learned that rotating through all your elements gives you the best options of learning what you're doing good, because you have all these.
That's why they've got the
cooldowns
healing
that are open.
signet, right? That's why
Yeah.
the healing signet exists, because like that's what they kind of expected people to do. So I feel like they've always planned that. I feel like they have always planned that.
But the
Yeah.
question is, because that brings into the game a difficult way of playing, even
Yeah.
though it's rewarding, are they going to make something that an elite spec that incentivizes people to play in a specific element more than others?
I mean, that's what we're about to talk about, right? I mean, the
Okay,
idea is
yeah.
maybe we could talk about that, and it would mean as well specifically, and this is something we've talked about before, which has been an idea that I've had for a while, like as well, is just re-equipping weapons, readjusting weapons that already exist that make more sense to have for that class. And then that line just changes your weapon skills depending on that. Because I would love to see that. That is something I would love to see. Be like, I'm an elementalist that focuses on like Rook's idea, like air or whatever. And now weapon skills do this abilities differently. Or one weapon specifically does skills differently. I think that would be cool, but I think it would be better to add weapons because I think, at the end of the day, people would prefer that, but I still think it would be cool. But
And Ellie doesn't have that many to begin with.
So-
Similar to
that's true.
Engineer.
But let's think about the theme. Okay, but you can go. You can.
Teams.
So
You went
many
first
things,
last
man.
time. That's. I know. I know. I can see you gushing. Okay.
I'm just got so
I can
much.
see you. I can't see you, but I want to make sure we get the past Ellie.
Okay, everybody else go. Everybody else go.
We're gonna go.
Oh,
we're gonna
I
go
have
to
so
Kriff
many.
first. Right, we're gonna go to
Okay.
Kriff. So a theme. So what theme elite could it be? Thinking about what we've had already. So Tempest is very. You can do damage to Tempest. There are good damage Tempests out there, but Tempest
Oh,
were
the
very.
themes in terms of like the role it fulfills.
I
in the
mean,
game.
it could be. I mean, it take theme however you want to take it.
Oh,
the-
I was
what-
doing like theme in
because
terms of like
we talked about
how you
pirate.
execute skills and
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
either
artwork.
we had
Theme can be
Warrior that was
core
a
mechanic.
duelist last week. We
Right.
had
Yeah,
other
yeah.
things. So think
Core
about
mechanic
that.
or like
kind
yeah,
of
what
thing.
it is.
Yeah, and you
Okay,
can
well,
fit it in with the weapon as well if you want.
So many ideas. I have so many ideas in my brain that sometimes are unrefined, but sometimes I just blurt them out. So take this how you may.
If you
But
tell us
I
the
really
idea,
enjoy.
Don't go
I
back.
really enjoy.
We're gonna have this issue today.
I really enjoy the idea of, I mean, classic arcane elementalist to attune into the arcane.
Okay.
But I think an interesting route, as we were kind of mentioning, is like the complex system with how elementalist functions in terms of attunement swapping. It'd be interesting if they limited the number of attunements you can go into. So you have like F1 through F5, but you can only attune to 3 of them at any time.
Oh, like
And
the
that
three
might
of
make
them?
it a bit
like a new attunement
3 or
and the
2 or whatever. You know,
Oh,
New
you
attunement
mean-
and like the 2 specs that you're in, like, because you don't have to
okay.
go. Yeah.
yeah. So it,
Wait,
I
wait,
think
wait, wait. Just describe that again. Like you, so
So-
you want people to only have access to 3 elements out of 4, or do you
3
mean 3
or
at the
however
same
many.
time?
well, if we added another F5, that'd be a total of 5 possible attunements. So it could be interesting in terms of an idea
Right.
of simplifying and making a bit more of a simple elite spec, considering we just got off the back of the Weaver,
What-
which was extremely
So
complex.
is this 2 core then? Is this 2 core elementalists and adding an attunement which is called Arcane? Is that what you mean?
No, when you specialize into this elite spec, you
Right.
unlock the 5th attunement, but it limits the amount of attunements you can select at any given time.
Okay.
instead of having your-
love.
So that's one of my possible ideas. I don't know how easy that would be, but I think
I'm just trying to wrap my head around it.
as separate ideas, an F5 could be interesting, and also a possible idea of limiting the attunements that you specialize into for that.
But what would
one.
the
But
attunement be? Would it be love, like Boots said, or would it
It's
be something
love.
else?
Yeah.
It's love.
the attunement it would be like fire, water, air, earth, arcane.
That would be okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I was asking. That's what I was asking. You see? That's what I was
Or,
trying.
well,
That's what I was
it'd
asking.
be the arcane attunement, but not like the arcane. Because oh yeah, there is an arcane specialization line. I
Yes.
forgot about that. Yeah.
Mhm.
Maybe that's where the confusion was. This would like, it's not. It doesn't have to do with that.
Okay, so it's a
it'd be the
different
elite spec.
arcane.
Well,
Yeah.
the
But
spec
it's
would be
okay.
like deep arcana or something to really delve
Yeah.
into arcana, actually unlock that attunement.
Chaotic arcana, something along those
Chaotic.
lines.
I mean, that's written down right here for me too. Chaotic
Oh.
chaos magic.
All right.
Chaos magic.
Okay, there
Yeah.
you go. It could be something else. Cool. So.
Those are my themes. What are your guys' thematic ideas?
No.
would
I
love to
like
hear.
that idea because just to summarize, just for a sec, like giving you basically another achievement as well on top.
Yeah.
But having focus in more more power in maybe 3 of them than the whole set of them specifically. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Rick.
Yeah, I have 2. Now, I've approached this as always from like I feel as though again I've approached from like the outside conceptual, so you can all maybe help me and chat too, or anybody else listening later in the comments with realizing these, because as we've talked, there was one that came up that I cannot stop thinking about that I think would be so cool, which I have dubbed Cataclysm, but which would be the one where I think this was back when we were talking, possibly was it Necro, and I was talking about the spirits that have been left by all of these disasters, like the ghosts of Ascalon. And then we got on this idea of actually channeling the raw power of natural disasters in Tyria, which I am like super into. Like I'm so into that idea that like it could, I don't know exactly how that would appear, but we know that like for example, Zaitan and all of like the flooding that happened or something like that, or we know with the possibility of like Jormag and the earthquakes. Like, I mean, there's all these different, it doesn't have to be tied to dragons. There have been so many different, kind of magical or disastrous things that have happened that I think would be really cool. And if we were thinking about even doing something like long range Condi, I think you could easily do something with that, with this idea of like, even like the blight in Cantha or something, where like there have been these like natural corrosions of elements or
Miasma.
destructive forces like miasma. Yeah. I think that'd be really neat. And then my second one is because I'm a big Avatar: The Last Airbender fan. And
Yes.
so for me, I dubbed it Channeler. I don't know what exactly. I'm sure there's probably a better one for it, but the idea of a martial artist that actually uses the elements as some kind of extension of that, I would love. I saw in chat too the mention about metal being an element that's often used in like Eastern culture or like Chinese elemental tables and things like that.
So
and I think even something like that would be cool. I'd be so into it. I'd be so into it. Blood bending.
Okay, so
Would
using
that
the
be like a main hand
elements-
focus kind of thing?
Yeah, I could see something like that. I could see, or if they wanted, we've talked about the idea of introducing new weapons, right? And if they were doing something with monk or other stuff like that, I think having some kind of fist weapon, I mean, whether that's that they would put on actual power gloves or it would be something more like wraps. Again, it's difficult because it has to be something that like a power glove. Yeah, it has to be something that's interesting that they can make skins of and things.
It can be something which is a weapon, but that weapon turns into something because of the class. Like it can always be utilized.
You could grip it and it could have some kind of like metal thing and they could call it whatever they want, Well,
you've got like the focus, which is like the legendary one where you've got the book in the hand, right? So it adds something. So,
I think foci would probably be the best substitute for a fist weapon because there's already so many like gauntlet, like sharp edges, pieces, focus skins.
And just be so much fun to
nice.
like choose different foci to hit people over the head with, like so good.
Yeah,
hitting people with books,
that
with
is
skulls.
really not too often seen in MMOs. It's a shame. Okay, so using the Elementalist, so using some of the elements that are introduced with Camphor maybe and putting that in as a kind of part of the theme of the build is what you're kind of saying with that second
and
one,
maybe
right?
they could do something where like as opposed to having the different like elements that you're rotating through, maybe they become almost like elemental stances. One of the things that I thought was so beautifully done in Avatar: The Last Airbender and they paid so much attention to was the fact they did actually work with, a martial artist and then tried to pair different martial forms that we actually have with the elements that they might share similarities to in stance or attack or abilities. And I just think that's so much potential there, even just visually, like when you think about the flash of Elementalist and, even that trailer that you were showing earlier, to have something like that. And I mean, they could even totally subvert it if they wanted, where even though you are doing martial arts, which, would be hand-to-hand combat in theory, they could do something like you even see in Avatar where it's ranged. And like, as you are throwing those punches and, the kicks and all the different forms that you have, you are actually, and like the strikes that you're using, you're, actually extending it out at range or something. And they could totally, do whatever they want with that. It doesn't have to be something that's just super straightforward or close proximity if they're looking to expand what Elementalist can do currently.
Okay.
Well said.
So, Boots then. What are you adding to this? What is your idea, theme-wise?
Oh boy. Okay, well, hold on. Are we so just theme and not weapons and stuff?
You can fit the weapon with it if you want. People have.
Okay, all right. So I got a bunch of different things here.
So what I want to preface this is with as well is worth thinking about the utilities, thinking about the theme of the expansion, because again, that's not necessarily exactly how they'll do it, because they do it with some. Obviously, we've had Mirage in the past. That's the Mesmer one. Scourge was very much Path of Fire. Druid was very much Heart of Thorns. There are some, but then again, there's Holosmith for Path of Fire, and it's a bit like. Yeah, that's a little bit out of their field, I guess, thematic wise. So it doesn't have to, because I think obviously they don't want to go down the path of every single thing has to be to do with this region.
Fire,
that would really, really, really narrow the scope of what they could create. So that wouldn't be a good idea. So it's nice to have those themes, but it doesn't have to be. So go wild. Boots,
okay,
I know you will.
Wild.
You're not going to let me down here. I'm pretty sure.
Well, I got a bunch of different ideas.
Pandora's box.
So we did a video a while ago, WP, and I think the thing we came down to in the end was like some sort of dragon magic, which is chaos magic, some sort of dragon magic theme thing where I think it was going to be main hand torch and or offhand torch, I don't know, probably offhand torch, and it would be like breath weapons, and then you'd have a fifth attunement where it would be the corruption, the draconic corruption of whatever weapon set you're using.
Different kind of fire, you mean?
No, it would be because there are different types of
Sorry, that's
dragons,
quite
right?
cool.
So depending on what
Think of that.
attunement depending on what attunement you swapped from, the corruption attunement, the dragon corruption branding attunement would be a different set of skills.
Okay.
So, but I think that in that case it wouldn't have been based on your weapons. I like that idea. Another idea I had was very, very simple, which is give Ellie's weapon swap. And it's like on a 20-second cooldown instead of a 10-second cooldown, and just let them go at it. Just let them swap.
That would be amazing. They just did that at the announcement.
Like
They'd just be like,
specialization feature?
what?
No, it would be like a minor trait in.
Oh, it'd be minor.
In the elite
okay, I was
spec.
like,
No, it would be the feature, yeah. So you know how Engie's got gyros? Like that would be the elite thing. That would be weapon swap, and it would just add to the core builds, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You couldn't just because you couldn't have a weapon. Or
that's
maybe
a
the
lot
third
of dang
skill.
skills.
Maybe the third
Yeah.
skill would be like a mix between. But yeah, no, it would be a lot of skills. But that would be even more.
They wouldn't have to make any
God.
new skills. They would just give Ellie's access to 40 more skills in
But
combat.
that could be good because that could fit in with what I think everyone said in kind of a way maybe that Crusader are focusing in more on a couple of attunements. So if you have weapon swap, you have a limited amount of attunements,
And that could work
but they're
too,
more
yeah, sure.
powerful, I guess. Could be. So it could narrow it down for players and make it not as
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. The trade-off that you need for the elite specs.
that's it. Need that. Yeah.
So another one obviously was the fifth attunement, because that's just great. I wrote Fifth Element Love, but in reality it would be a more chaos.
Captain Planet, people, come
magic
on.
kind of five.
Heart is an element.
No, we're talking about the Fifth Element, the
Heart.
movie.
I know, but
Yes.
do you know what Captain Planet is?
Yeah, Captain Planet.
You're American.
Yeah.
Oh no, you're not. You're Canadian. Sorry.
Air, water.
I don't know.
Captain Planet, Canadian. Canadian, Canada.
In Canada, we had Captain Planet. Yeah, in fact, I think we
I
were
had the
influenced by
Teletubbies.
Captain Planet more than the US.
Wow, Captain Planet was
So-
good, people.
It was actually good. Not gonna
It
lie.
talked about. It was very moral. Very good morals.
Misdemeanor was one of the evil people in it. Okay,
That's a
so
good drag name.
I would, instead of love, it would probably be chaos and arcane magic. Dragon magic, yeah, but more chaos and arcane focused. And the idea would be you could only access it if you've swapped through each attunement before. So if you've gone through all the attunements, you unlock the fifth attunement, you could go to it. And maybe it has a long cooldown after you leave it, or maybe you get kicked out of it after a certain amount of time because it's going to be more powerful. And I guess another idea could be is that you count as though you're in every attunement when you're in it. So you get the buffs from whatever traits you're running on it. And also, I'm guessing the skills would
That
be
could be
doing
an elite
weird.
as well.
Yeah. The skills would be doing like weird, wacky chaos magic stuff, like summoning polar bears. and
The Codan.
yeah. So you know how when you go to the
Out of anything.
you know how when you go
chaos,
to
crazy magic of doom and death. Oh my God, it's going to be
Polar bear.
amazing! And
Exactly.
polar bears, everyone. Polar bears.
What would you do
No, it's
for
gonna
a
be polar
Klondike
bear.
bar? Boom, boom.
When you go to the fire elemental world boss, and you're in that location where that got ripped asunder by all those rifts and stuff because of chaos magic,
were polar
polar
bears
bears
there?
get summoned.
That's
Polar
true.
bears get summoned every once in a while.
Okay. There is a link.
yeah.
there.
It'd be hilarious if a polar bear and a Codan got summoned and just stood there looking at each other. That'd be
Yes.
so good.
It'd
You're
be
like,
awkward, but it would
you
be
are
good.
me. I am you.
So those
That's
are
the
basically the
image.
main ideas. I guess the last thing I
Jesus.
wanted to talk about was for weapons in general. We have some off-limits weapons that I don't think they're going to touch, right? We have longbow, greatsword, shield, main hand axe, and
Not
hammer.
longbow.
It's
Short bow.
probably longbow,
It's probably short bow.
but it's so slow. It's got to be longbow.
But it's so small.
Yeah,
It's
but
not
short
that
bow's
small.
faster than long bow, isn't it?
Yeah, it's slow, so it's a longbow.
Wait,
Well,
what?
in theory.
Anyway,
That's long ago.
so the ice bow, the fiery
Medium
greatsword, the shield, the earth shield, the fire axe, flame axe, and the lightning hammer, they're all conjure weapons that Ellie's already have. And it's unlikely. Well, I don't know. They haven't yet. They haven't yet given them any of those weapons.
I'm going to destroy this narrative in one simple statement.
Okay, go for it.
Dragon Hunter. They had Bow of Truth, and then they got Longbow.
I mean,
That's true. That's
maybe.
true.
What if Bow of Truth was a short bow?
Start with no.
I mean,
I see what you're saying.
You're
and
both saying good things.
I think that's
Keep going.
That's probably something that they think about, especially with Elementalist, because you it's not just where it's the spirit weapons, you actually can use those weapons. So I can understand what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
The other issue with that is they have given us in game the weapon skins of those conjures. Every single one of those conjures we have in game as a weapon you could wield, as a skin you could put on. So it will be a little bit unnerving to people playing against them in PvP if it looks like they always have a fiery greatsword going on and don't know whether or not it's a conjure or actually their weapon.
that's actually a really good point that I hadn't considered with this. The idea of like there being some confusion, especially in the context of PvP, as to like what an elementalist would be using that you could counter. I mean, before you'd mentioned that, I had been on, I think, the same page as Kroof, where I was just kind of going, well, I mean, I think they probably could, especially if it, you know, significantly gives you some other things with this elite spec and whatever they wanted to do. But I didn't really think about it from that perspective.
Yeah,
They
I mean,
could
personally,
change.
I would love for Ellie to have,
Couple of things.
especially if you're a Cataclysm idea. I personally would love for an Ellie to have a greatsword as its weapon. Because I think that would work.
Remember,
well with the
standardized
Cataclysm.
models is a thing that they could put in a
Yeah.
standardized
Yeah, that's a good point.
greatsword
That's a
or
good
But I
weapon
also want to
as well.
say that talking point, any class can use a conjured weapon because you summon another one.
Yeah,
So overall, if everyone was running conjure weapon skins and the enemy team was like, the enemy team theoretically could be like, oh, they're all running conjured weapons. So even right now, you might not necessarily know.
Yeah, standardized
Sure.
weapons, standardized frames right now in PvP, you just see basic weapons. If you see someone with some fire greatsword, you see that skin, but you don't see the skin.
Yeah.
But if you don't run standardized models, then that would be a problem. But no one doesn't. Anyone that plays, I'm going to say this, assuming anyone that plays PvP
sweeping
in a way
claim.
where they do want to do well is using standardized models so you can see animations. And so, because otherwise, if you're not, then you're looking at Asura's in PvP, and that's a nightmare. You don't want to do that.
I would say more likely than not, they're gonna do something offhand only because of the fact that they've put so much into Weaver. They're not gonna do that again.
Yeah.
Even with just an offhand, you get 8 new weapon skills, which is a lot. And if you're getting a 5th attunement, that's 10 new weapon skills. Or actually, no, it's not 10 new weapon skills. It's 10 new weapon skills just for that weapon. And then for all the other weapons, you have 5 new skills for, all that other stuff if you're doing it. So, yeah, they're probably
I think
just going to do
for
it
that reason, though, that's probably better to do a two-hander. Because as you said, you not only would have to create the offhand weapon skills, you would have to create
5 instead of 2.
Well, here's something
that would only work if I consider if they do get a new attunement, because then you'd have to make all of those skills.
Right.
So I think a two-hander would be more simple, but of course, this is like I was under the impression still my mind was like, ooh, F5.
Is
So, I
there?
guess-
So like we do have to kind of start thinking about moving on because we've been there for a bit of time.
I wanted to
We're not
say
gonna
one
move
thing
on.
really
No.
fast.
All I'm doing
let
is
Rook
centering
talk.
on.
I wanted to say one
I'm
thing
letting Rook
so
talk.
fast.
Let Rook
Calm down, Boots. Relax yourself.
Just kidding.
Calm down. Bring it down
And
a
then
notch.
let me talk.
Bring it down a notch. All right. I'm here to help us to keep the things going so we can get on time. That's all. I'm just going
There's
to different
time?
people. Rook,
Right.
what did you want to say?
Well, right now I'm doing the pre-show for Boots, so I want to be really clear about that because then it'll go straight into Boots after this. So
I wouldn't do a channel. I don't do
this was something I'm curious about, and I'll be the first person to admit I don't play a whole lot of Elementalists. So, if anybody has anything to contradict what I'm about to say, please feel free to interject. But we did semi-recently, see in the latest Fractal the final boss that appeared to be some kind of pseudo elementalist, from what I was seeing, who I believe had 2 swords. Is that correct? Am I remember correctly?
Yes.
So that got me thinking, I wonder if that is a bit of a preview of something we might see down the road for Elementalist. And from what I remember of that fight, she, you have like the different symbols that make up the elemental sort of wheel that she uses that are also on the floor of the fight. And she goes between them and does a lot of like push out walls of, this element, that element. There's like the water, big old AoE things that she does. I started wondering if they might do something like that with duo
which
swords.
fight is this again? Sorry.
This
It's
is
in
the
Sunqua Peak. It's the final boss.
Ooh.
AI.
Okay.
Hmm?
Yeah,
And
that's a good
curious.
fight, actually.
Then she becomes dark, light and darkness or something at the end, right?
I did actually take a look at that fight for some inspiration. And as Shino has pointed out, laser attunement. I think that I was also interested in terms of that could be the chaotic arcane or the chaos attunement as well. In terms of double swords, I feel like they'd be a little cautious to implement an offhand sword just because we've already got sword for their Path of Fire elite spec. But they
Like,
don't
they're-
have offhand sword, so
True, but like, what are they
technically
going to
that's fair
do to
game.
get the double sword? Because she can't be Weaver and whatever this new lead spec is. So
maybe
be-
then you just take all the skills that are not the weave skills, like the standard 3
Yeah.
one, and you
maybe.
just kind of like use, I don't know. But yeah, as Chad is saying, I think the double hand sword,
Or maybe
I would be a little like
Or-
disappointed if it was another sword.
Or maybe she's just
That's
like
true.
Shiro, and
Personally.
they're actually
For me.
daggers that are giant.
Okay, but
It's true.
They're just
All right,
daggers
whoa,
that are
whoa, whoa, whoa.
placed.
so why can't it be?
upwards.
Why can't it be like a torch, or why can't it be like something which is more?
Yeah,
Because
torch.
you spoke about that previously. I feel like that is probably. I'm gonna say my little bit. Okay, so
Speak.
and this
Speak
may
on it,
not
Jabro.
be completely. I'm going with the actual Guild Wars kind of ness. I'm gonna actually go with spirits here. I'm gonna go with spirits because of where we're going, because of the Guild Wars as well, and not necessarily having. I feel like that could be a thing. I know we've got like the elemental kind of creature things. I've seen that PvP build recently that someone keeps running, keeps seeing it. But like, I feel like spirits, but I feel like spirits that are not necessarily elemental based. Well, they could be, but they're more like the Revenant skills for some reason. But like more like elements and more like AoE kind of like maybe like traps or something, but they look like spirits, for example. I don't know. I'm still not sure about Ellie. Ellie is one of those classes where I'm like,
Because they do have the elemental summons already with the glyphs, right?
yeah, kind of, yeah. So I think Ellie is the one where I'm not like. I kind of like the idea, which I think you've all kind of had in a way. I like the idea, the cross with the torch and the theme of camphor and having the new element, like the stuff from Guild Wars there. What was it called? What's it called? The
Cataclysm.
Cataclysm. But like, what is the actually? No, but what is it called? The purpley, pinky stuff.
Miasma?
There, yeah. That being a main feature of it, like kind of.
I think Chaos Magic 5th attunement
And yeah,
involving
that would be
miasma
cool.
could be nice too. Like, you could probably could put confusion and torment in your chaos stuff.
You could for sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I think that torch could be something where, you know, I feel like similar to, I guess, Water 2 ability on Dagger, but like it could be some kind of like you could even hold your torch up and like breathe through the torch, and that would be whatever element you're in is some kind of like, if it's water, it's maybe healing, but I feel like that's already a thing that they have, but like it does damage or something like that, or it causes confusion or something like that, where a torch is used more of as a projectile weapon.
That would be great, like a torch that it's all breath weapons essentially. You breathe through the torch, and then depending on your attunement, it changes what kind of breath weapon it is. Like, spit and flame, spit and fire, spit and earth. Yeah, I like it.
I mean, Boots, and everybody here knows that anything that is like dragon related, I'm all about. If they made new elite specs and every single one was dragon themed, I'd be like, yes, I'm done. This is it. I'm going to play every single one of them forever. I'm going to do it. So the moment that you were like, breath weapons as a thing, I was just over here like, sign me up. Yes. And it's going to be about dragons. Great.
I think that's a great idea, Jeb. And but it makes me I just remembered the other thing I wanted to bring into it is, how are we going to introduce quickness and alacrity into the spec?
I mean, that's at least, that's like...
You are really on quickness and alacrity.
Okay,
I
here
think
we
those
go.
two boons need to be separate.
The weapon swap idea is also the quickness and alacrity idea, because in order to cast all those skills quickly enough to be able to go through the double rotation you now have to do, you need quickness. So
why does it need alacrity then?
That's a good question. You probably
I have an idea. I have an idea. If we're doing the like Avatar: The Last Airbender kind of styled thing, maybe you could have something where you almost like build up momentum with your attacks, and it like gives you some kind of new thing where you get like, I don't know, I'm not totally sure, like with whatever consecutive things or part of rotation or whatever that would kind of trigger it, you'd get like little stacks of a thing, and then you could like trigger it at that certain point and it would apply those buffs. And that would be something like, you've built up momentum as a fighter. I also just really like the idea of hot feet. I just like the idea of a little bit of that Hades game channeling where your feet get hot or your fists are on fire and you're just going faster because you're just in the zone. You're just so into it. I could see something like that.
I like it.
Okay, there is a lot of noise going on right now. They're still using the room as a cut room, apparently, so I do apologize. So if you see my face kind of getting a bit ragey,
you should throw something at the ceiling.
No, it's not going to work. No, I thought they'd actually moved the cut room, but like, so if anyone in the stream doesn't know what's going on, and like why there's noise going on, and why I'm sad in my face, it's because they literally assigned a room in the entire building, which is above mine, as a room to cut wood and everything to renovate other things going on. So I'm a happy person right now.
By the way, for the quickness and alacrity, just for people in chat, I don't personally, even though it would be nice if Ellie has a way to give unique buffs to people, besides protection. And anyway, I think that the quickness and alacrity would be a self-buff thing. I don't know if that would be something to give to other people because it's already done in other ways for different characters. I think it's a self-buff kind of thing. That is all.
I would agree.
Yeah,
quickness and alacrity need to be very carefully watched, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
so strong.
I've got a quick respite, so I'm gonna say while there's a tiny bit of gap, because no, there we go. We're gonna move. Is there anything else that we can talk about the Elementalists? Is there anything we're missing here?
We could talk about this for another 2 hours. I'd
maybe
say,
but let's round it up. So we're thinking maybe a torch.
Tank, but you make an earth golem. That's the only one I got. Otherwise,
like instead of fire. Hot feet, you become like, if you're an earth attunement too long, you get stuck to the ground and then extra tanky.
yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, that's it. We're good, Jeb.
Okay, cool. No, I would love to. I could realize that I could have this conversation many times over. Yes, and we can do, if Boots still wants to give a community chest away. We're not making a big deal of this because this is going to be recorded and everything else. So I say pick an exclamation mark. It's going to be exclamation mark ticket in the chat. That's how you're going to be able to enter. There's no keyword or anything because it's different stream elements. So that's how we have to do it. So is it just, you just want to give it away to anyone that's following the channel? What do you want to do?
Yeah, whoever's there. Oh, and they have to like me.
Okay.
They have
I'm not sure how you check that.
It is mandatory that you come to the 8 a.m. pre-show. No.
So when
it's really hard to judge this, we're just going to have to do like an interview afterwards. Like, how do you feel about?
There is no giveaway running at the moment, but that will be the command.
Your eggs?
And
oh man, I said not Valen even before you wrote I'm off the list. Yeah, so true.
But Boots will be the
I
one
don't know,
to
I'm
message
feeling
you
really
this
indifferent
code.
about Boots.
Okay, peeps. This will be
Yeah.
this will be Boots is gonna message you this code, and we'll sort it out, and we'll sort the winner out, and I will Really Geek will message me when that's all done and dusted. I'm just
Boots gonna
get
send you the
official-
code and then also write you like a little personal note about how wonderful you are with like very specific compliments that are unique only to you.
But then whoever it is gonna be required to say "fuck off, Boots" afterwards.
Yes.
So I don't
That
think
is
I'm
the
gonna
only
do that.
proper way to respond to compliments.
Okay, so we're gonna
You
move
have big
on.
eyes.
Chat, pay attention to that. Pay attention to that. Sorry, I'm not meant to cut people off, but we tend to go off on one sometimes.
What's happening? Who am I doing this to?
Sometimes.
No, we're
It's a
gonna
consistent
haven't even
occurrence.
started it yet. We're gonna do the giveaway during the show. It will happen in chat.
This is the
don't
show.
worry. Yes, exactly. It still has to continue.
On with the show.
Good lord. Right, so let's go on to Revenant. Revenant has obviously.
Roof is dressed for success with this one.
Who wants to go first?
There might be some Revenant stuff.
Right,
going
Kroof,
on
you
in
go
my
first.
forehead.
What is this
Oh,
class
me?
missing? What is it missing in Guild Wars 2 right now? Revenant.
Honey bunches of oats. Let's just no, they're not missing that. Let's just say that I really want them to have great sword. And Rook is currently diving deep into method acting for Revenants. But I would really love to see a great sword. I think Revenant is missing some melee, considering we got short bow last time and shield. Shield does have a projectile and can be used in melee, but I would like some nice chunky greatsword activity. And going back to the themes of like a Dark Knight, Revenant, the original concept art, I like the edginess, and I want the edginess
Batman?
to be fulfilled. So that's my baseline statement about what I would like.
I like how
Just
Rook
see-
doesn't realize she's muted.
Yeah, well, I got it. I'm going to take to it really
Oh,
fast.
yeah.
Roof, I love you. The thing is that right now I'm wearing a blindfold for anybody who's listening to the audio only version.
Yes.
So, Kroof, I'd love you to just take it away again and say that you really want the edginess. So please.
Okay. Honey bunches of oats. Here we go. Part 2. I really want the edginess.
I'm Redlock Brimstone, and I agree with this.
Later,
Is that good? How is that? Do we feel pretty good about that?
We're feeling.
Do we
We'll
feel
workshop
okay?
it.
Okay, all right. I mean, I thought it was like pretty close. I thought it was pretty
We're
close
feeling good.
there. No, I think
we're
that'd be
doing
awesome.
good.
Yeah, I feel pretty good about that.
Mhm.
Revenant, it's funny because everybody was saying that Elementalist is the one that they feel like they don't really know what they would do with it. And for me, it feels to me like it's Revenant. Like, I think just because, I don't know, I mean, there's a ton of stuff thematically you can do with Revenant.
I think
Was that
what you-
Boots? Did you want to interject here?
I wanted to say that I think the thing you got to do when you're thinking about Revenant, yes, you could say, okay, they need a great sword. I agree, they need a great sword, so just give them a great sword and go from there. But more likely, you then have to think what the legend is, right?
Master
and then
Togo.
why
Togo
would
be
Master
the
Togo
one.
have a great sword?
Well,
He doesn't need to have a great sword. Kala didn't have a short bow. I think she used daggers.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess Master, it's just so funny because we already have Shiro, and it feels like Shiro would be the big one that, you know, for me would be here in this part. But I could see Master Togo. I mean, yeah, I like maybe this, if we're going for dragon themes, maybe the spirits of the dead dragons.
Oh my
Um,
god.
Another sea, what are they called? Sea sprite dragons, like Kunavang?
Like
Yeah,
literally
That.
the madness
Okay.
of Kralkatorrik at your disposal.
I mean, but maybe, okay, hold
Okay,
up,
so then
hold up.
that-
I have an
that
idea
makes a good
now.
point. Can't be a humid and it can't be another dragon. We already have Glint.
I mean,
Dude,
but Glint's not enough. Is Glint enough dragons for
I
me?
think-
No, I need
Rook,
more.
I think I know where you're going with this.
Were you thinking, okay, this is what I was thinking, and maybe we're thinking the same, I don't know.
I hope so.
I was
Let's see.
thinking like Purifier, but it's like the original essences of the dragons before they lost their
Oh, that is
like
not what I was
control.
thinking.
What were you thinking?
Okay, well, first of all, Purifier, that actually goes to something else that I thought of, and I'll get to that later. But more than that, I was thinking there was a lot of complaints about how they did Jormag and Primordus dirty. Not enough lore supplied from them. Maybe you bring them back as legends, twin legends or something, warring legends, and have a lot of dialogue that tells you a lot of stuff, and they finally get to shine.
That would be interesting. I would be down for that. There's a lot of I see other good ones in here. What do we have in chat as well? Kos, Nika Spirit. Oh, that might be interesting. Who else? What everybody else is saying. There's a lot of interesting. Oni, that'd be interesting. That'd be interesting.
What were some other, like the wardens? Were they in Cantha? Like the plant people? I guess we have the centaur. I'm currently rewatching WP's factions abridged stuff, so I'm trying to remember everything.
I had to go through. I actually looked at some of his videos today because I was looking for some legend in the world that used a greatsword that would use a greatsword, and I was hoping a katana. I was thinking some kind of key samurai type warrior. Kind of like what you were thinking before. Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, that's a good one in chat, which is Traherne. I think that's interesting. And he used a great sword.
Oh my god.
I mean, people would hate it though, because so many people hate Traherne, but still.
Oh my god, yes.
Right, so is this legend? So the legend is gonna refer directly to the weapon that is being brought in. Is that what you think?
I don't think it needs to. I really don't. It hasn't with any of the others. Glenn didn't use a shield. Kala didn't use a short bow. So they have not set that up as a trend.
Kala didn't use a short bow?
It's more so just no. She used daggers in the novel.
Oh,
I think they came in the novel. Yeah.
What about air? I would love to have air as a spirit.
The best.
That was my
so
fault,
for
actually.
a great sword, the best thoughts I
thinking.
have now. I'm on Traherne because I think that's glorious. But what I had come up with was I looked on the Guild Wars original wiki and I found Xun Rao, which was from the Ministry of Purity in Cantha. Very interesting guy there. Never actually appeared in game, but he was a bad dude. Or Belinda.
Get some Belinda in there. You could have something. I mean, people did say it. I wanted to do this too. Kase is technically still. You can still find him. I think in Guild Wars 2 as well. He's the one that's down in the pit, being really sad, right? He's up by himself.
Technically,
in that cave.
He's still alive.
Yeah.
Is Belinda qualify as a legend, or is that a little?
I mean, it'd be hilarious. I think it'd be great. I would be all about it.
Mm-hmm.
I think Valley makes a good point. They probably won't make legends out of characters that have died in Guild Wars 2. They're probably going to pull back to factions. So there's already been a large breadth of time.
I don't know though, because this is a big thing, and this is a big question that I have in my mind, even looking ahead to the announcements next week, right?
Wait, when did Clint die?
Clint
during Edge of Destiny in the interim between the games.
Right.
But like that's one of those things where how much they want to call back directly to Guild Wars 1 is always a little bit of a question, right? There's obviously continuity, but especially with like a new expansion at a big pivotal time, it feels to me that like while we are kind of, I think, getting our last like major focus nod to Guild Wars 1, I do find myself almost constantly asking, how much do they want to rely back on that? And how much do they want to provide things for like Guild Wars 2 specific players or people who are coming into the game new? So to me, it actually does make absolute sense to have something like a character that people might have some connection to from Guild Wars 2, looking ahead to the future of the game.
Is dead.
But who is dead? To be
King Adelburn.
Who is dead?
He's a ghost.
Who is dead?
King Adelburn was always a ghost in Guild Wars 2, and he's there. He's prominent.
Be neat. I mean, I am a big sucker for Ascalon. I like, you know, that's something where Ascalon or is a big one for me as well. Like, I really like those two areas. So I think it could be I don't know. I think it'd be kind of fascinating to do something there with Revenant with the playstyle of the ghosts, or there's a lot to draw on that we even see in game from those.
So we've covered a lot of the possible legends and like who we're going to be channeling or the areas in the world. What do you think is missing with Revenant in terms of its gameplay functionality? Because remember, Elite Specializations try to introduce something that classes do not currently have.
They don't miss much. If you want to heal spec, you got that. If you want a Condi spec, you got that. If you want a power spec, you got that. If you want a buffing spec, you have that. They don't
I think
miss
they
much.
are missing one thing.
Maybe an
I think they're
interrupt build?
missing. I think they're missing a. They have close range capabilities, but if I would like to see Greatsword, so if we're going with Greatsword, I would like to maybe see some boon rip on Revenant and some boon destruction, playing with the boons a bit more, because it was already hinted at with you get a little bit of it in the legendary assassin stance when you are the herald. The flip over F2 skill rips boons. I would like to maybe see a little bit more boon rip and a little bit more interaction with boons on Revenant. I think that'd be kind of cool. Plus, there's already a lot of boons in PvP. Boons, be gone.
Mhm. They have
Unless
that
you're
nice
scared.
trait that
Please don't.
like doubly kills stability. And
Yes.
so if they could give stuff that helps with that afterwards, like an interrupt build that also steals boons, that'd be really cool. Kind of like a Spellbreaker, but better.
I would say Spellbreaker, I mean, playing against Spellbreakers is always like really intense because of the interrupts. So I would see maybe a couple interrupts, some CC potential, even in PvE bruisery stuff where you can survive as well.
Mhm.
That could, interrupts can help you survive in PvE. But in PvP, I'm always a little scared with interrupts. So, but a
thinking,
couple
like-
I think could be cool.
Yeah, I'm thinking like not long stuns, because I know with Spellbreaker and the stuff that a warrior could already do, you could lock someone down forever. But
Yeah.
Rev doesn't really have that capability yet, and I think if they do an interrupt build for Rev for like spec, they shouldn't make it a lockdown. It should be just an interrupt one that does bonuses when you interrupt things.
Yeah. Okay.
So, like,
I'd be
what
down
are
for that.
what are the utilities then? If we think about like what could the utilities possibly be? Like, because obviously Rev utilities are always different, right? They're always their own thing.
Yeah.
They're energy spent abilities, so they like increase damage. They, I guess the dwarf legend is more like that stability road, which is very iconic, very unique to Guild Wars 2. Very awesome, actually. The Condi ones, they're not very graphical, but they're quite impactful if you use them well. There's what else is there? There's Renegades ones are more AoE oriented. They give some buffs here and there. Obviously, go Alacrity, all that. What would this new one be? Would it be different? Would it be going along the same kind of theme, or would we actually have some kind of? Would we have like shouts, or would we have like traps, or would we have like that kind of thing, or would it go along the same theme as it's going now, kind of thing? What do you reckon, Beats?
So I think the issue is, okay, if you want to introduce Ritualist as a class, as an elite spec in Guild Wars 2, thematically, Revenant is the best choice besides Necromancer. But because of the fact that they basically introduced a Ritualist light with Kala, with Renegade, it's difficult to do that again. The only thing they could do to change Ritualist, what they could do to bring Ritualist in as a Revenant and not be the same as Renegade is, instead of it being a spirit that's summoned for a set amount of time that goes away, it would be spirits that remain in a specific, like the Revenant, like the Ritualist used to be back in Guild Wars 1. They have a life bar. It could get killed. It goes down over time, just like that. So yeah, they could do that, but more likely
I would like
than
to
not,
see changes to Kala as well. If they do go that route, I feel like Kala's warband would need to be changed a bit. I'm gonna kind of pull from my video that I did on my Elite Spec for Revenant a while back, but I really like the idea of, if we're going with Ritualist, the utility type would be called Rituals, and they'd be something where it's a bit more of a delayed action. So you'd use it, and then after like 3 seconds, you'd explode in a burst of energy, or like you'd set in a certain location, you'd summon a rift, and then that'd be like your upkeep, and it would continually drain. You get some benefits being in the rift, or it summons like some spirit creature to kind of harken back and as an homage to Factions Ritualist. But I like the idea of like setting up these things and like having some delay to where you kind of strategically are like, okay, I'm going to be here at this location, and then in 3 seconds this is going to pop, or like I'm going to set this field over here, and then in 2 seconds that's going to pop there, and that's going to happen over here. A little bit of a push and pull in terms of positioning. That's kind of the utility I would like to see more of a bit more like high level strategic play. Could be a bit difficult, to be like, it might be unsatisfying if you miss things, but oh well.
I really like that. I mean, you and I think, have been on the same page with previous builds where we're like, yeah, like have these different areas where you like put the thing down and then you move this and you put that there and then you like, I do like that kind of gameplay, which in a high-paced game like Guild Wars 2 that has this really fast combat and things like dodge rolls, I can see how it's tricky to do something like that because you don't ever want to feel like, well, if I put something down and then all of the action moved away from it, I am completely useless, you know? So like, of course I understand why they probably want to vary play so that it's not always dependent on that. But I think you're totally right in that we could do something really cool with this. I thought too, like the two things that have come to mind listening to everybody else talk. One is the idea of like Spectral Guardians, kind of like I've been playing this cleric in D&D, right? So there are these different things you can do where you either like summon a spiritual weapon, which obviously we already have in the game, or you summon these like spirit entities that do a variety of things that like either like punish enemies that come into that area, attack them, slow them, hold them, like stuff like that I think is really neat and creates those sorts of things. And then the other idea that I had was the fact that Revenant, from my understanding, and I did not play it when this was accurate, when this was a thing, but the combo fields with Revenant used to be wildly powerful, didn't they? Like, just ridiculously powerful? Am I remembering this correctly? People can let me know if I'm just like...
What do you mean
there
by
used
combo?
to be something...
When you would... In them?
Yes, like when you'd combo different effect abilities. This is what I've heard from people, so I was curious about this. That there used to be some kind of really powerful...
People might have utilized them quite a bit, and it was actually really easy to do it with the mace because you have the fire field into the blast, so you can gain yourself a lot of might. But I don't know if they were inherently more powerful than other professions. It just might have been utilized more maybe early on. I don't really remember hearing too much about that. But yeah, combo fields are an interesting area of combat as well to touch on.
Yeah, so whatever I had heard that I was pulling out of my butt for this moment.
I mean, I think
somebody told me, I swear, at some point, somebody told me there was some kind of really OP combo
field. To you several times. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no,
well,
like
the blast,
this is again just...
the blast with the mace into the field was strong, but I don't know if it was. Yeah, I think it was
OP or
maybe,
like really wild.
Maybe a couple of people had some poor experiences in PvP, and maybe they reduced some of the damage numbers and stuff. But it sounds like,
I mean, again, it was just hearsay, but I do think that combo fields, just on principle, are interesting. And the idea of like gaining some kind of control over, Kroof, like you were saying, like things detonating or stuff happening, or like bonus effects, or like if you have a field down and then you applied something else over it and you had that combo element with whatever spirits or energy or whatever, you know, like you swap into this different one and then you apply this thing down over it. I love the idea of those affecting the arena in certain ways, or like, you know, giving you more control over, again, that kind of trap-esque gameplay where you're like putting something and then trying to actually get a strategic control over how you're using it on the field. So I think that would be something that would be really neat to investigate. Would it maybe be, again, like a high skill ceiling thing that would require you to really have an intrinsic understanding of how you paired those fields? Yes, but it'd be really neat.
I made a video for that. If it encourages everybody to go watch my video on combo fields and finishers, then it's worth it for me. I love combo fields. I'm upset that not too many people in the Guild Wars 2 population truly understand the power of combos. Valen's correct. There used to be a warrior trait that I wanted to abuse heavily, that doubled the effective combo finishers in fields. Unfortunately, warrior itself never got too many fields besides fire field. You got a couple of fire fields as a warrior, and you could also become an Asura and have a poison field, but that's about it. So yeah, it's a little bit, for warrior, for example, I wanted that to stay in the game, that trait, and them to have an elite spec that actually drops some fields that you could finish in, because they have like warriors have the most finishers in the game, just no fields to use them in. So yeah, if they could reintroduce maybe that trait and do what you're saying and have a lot more fields, that would be great for me in particular.
Okay, so
I think-
we're what is like we're talking about very random things for Revenant right now. I don't think we've really. It's a bit like Elementalist as well. We didn't really come up with anything specific. I think in the end, well, I think we came up with some ideas and some
Great
themes.
sword.
Great sword.
We definitely
some
had
kind
more
of-
names though. We had more names for the previous specializations.
Yeah.
So I think we definitely need to have some kind of name, whether or not even if it's just
Well,
a
it
fun
depends
name.
on what legend is,
The
right? So-
ritualist.
So like, I mean, the ritual. I mean, some people were talking about Revenant being, the idea, the kind of renaming of like a ritualist and bringing it into Guild Wars 2. I think to a degree,
Yeah.
but that doesn't
Or
necessarily
you can do a
mean.
callback. You can do a callback to Utopia and name it the Summoner.
True.
Are you
But
summoning
they would
a
call it the
ritual
ritualist over the summoner,
thing?
though, I think, right? Like,
Well, they would
Yeah,
actually
probably.
call a new trait line ritualist or what? Do you mean? Sorry.
they would call the elite spec
Yeah.
the ritualist,
They'll call
and
it
the
the
legend would be
ritualist,
Master Togo, and they would summon
If
things.
they did that, I would change my main. Have you seen the picture?
Deborah agrees.
Have you seen the picture
But-
that Holodoc did?
That's,
Amazing.
I mean, that's pretty straightforward. I would rather a great sword and it being some sort of key warrior, some kind of samurai with an interrupt build. But what are you gonna do?
I would like that with the playstyle of Greatsword. So I would agree in terms of being physical and up in people's faces. I think another thing about Revenant we haven't touched on was their energy mechanic. We have a lot of abilities to spend energy, but we actually don't have that many abilities to gain energy in large lump sums or over time. And personally, I would like to see a little bit more either traits or abilities where you can actually gain energy while in battle. Because often I feel that I'm always at 50% or below. Very
You
few
do it by
times
switching legends, right?
you do it by switching legends, and there is a trait where if you're below a certain amount, you can instantly go to 75%. But
Mhm.
most of my playtime in Revenant, it could be the way I play. But for me, I'm always at 50 or below. I'm very rarely in a position where I feel like I can stay in a legend for quite some time because I'm at 100% or, in the larger percentage category. So I would like maybe some abilities where you can like gain energy over time or like boost the energy that you gain while you're just auto attacking. So
Yeah.
the energy
you can
mechanic
stick
is
in the
something to
same
keep in
legend.
mind. Yeah.
Okay. Rook, I feel like you had something to say and we interrupted you 6 times.
No.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, it's good. I've just been like rolling along with what everybody's thoughts. I mean, when I was thinking of specific words we could use, things like evoker came to mind if they wanted to do something different than summoner. When it came to the previous one that we had about the idea of almost purifying spirits, or like, we did purifier, but I think that also, would get maybe people would call them like air purifiers or something.
Air purifiers.
They get bullied.
Yeah, if instead
Oh
of
my
Belinda
gosh.
it is actually Zun Rao from the Ministry of Purity, it could be the Purifier. Yeah.
To be a purifier. I was thinking of.
Oh my God, Jebro.
What?
Not the live stream.
What happened?
Get a filter.
What were you saying?
It's gone. It doesn't really matter.
We're
to be
talking about
honest, I feel
Togo.
like-
I'm just putting it up for the people watching. Like, I always put loads of video up and images and stuff. Go for it. It's Crew's
I mean,
fault.
Master
It's true that
Togo
it's my
feels.
fault.
Master Togo feels like the big no-brainer for Kantha for me, right? I feel like he would be the spirit that we'd have, but there are lots of other spirits I could get.
Dude, they have to bring Master Togo back and then use him to market things in the gem store. It would be Master Togo's BOGO
God.
day or something.
BOGO
Buy one,
day?
get one free.
What? It's BOGO day. Okay.
I'm no longer
Yeah.
here. I'm an illusion.
We're talking
gonna
about
shout
Togo.
real
I
quick.
thought it was relevant.
Yes, it is very Revenant, very funny. Good.
That
good
wasn't me
content.
who did that. It was someone else.
Good content.
Well, I was streaming as well.
I will say for Revenant, I'm actually very excited to see what they get because Revenant has felt like a class that necessarily hasn't. It's powerful sometimes, but it's the newer class, so it feels a little like the child that was kind of forgotten and kind of rushed. So I hope.
Wait,
this
hold on a
Ooh, I don't
second.
know if Revenant was
When it
rushed.
first came out, it was like
It was
12 times more
pretty
powerful
good.
than anything out there.
I mean,
No, in terms of it's very good, but I feel like there's a lot of things missing with Revenant. in terms of they have a very limited pool of utility skills, and it is.
Well, that's what I mentioned
Revenant
before,
is-
right? You know, it's like the
Yeah.
utility skills aren't typical to the game at all, and the classes. They're more just
Yeah, they're
like
not.
you
It feels
click it
limiting
and you do a
because
thing.
of the actual design of the way it
feel
works. It feels limiting.
Because Revenant was designed in Heart of Thorns, it was the most modern creation of what a profession would be in Guild Wars 2. So it didn't really feel like it was a core thing. It felt like it needed elite specializations to also maximize their potential, especially with the Herald. So that was my feeling towards Revenant. So I'm very excited to get another elite specialization to hopefully flesh out the class a bit more.
Okay. I reckon they'll continue along the line maybe with the utility skills and just going for like, you know, increased damage, press button, etc., etc. I like the dwarf abilities. They're pretty cool, but I don't know what else you could probably have.
I have a wild one.
No, go
I have
for
a
it.
wild one
What is
because I was just learning about this recently.
it? Is it Canaxi?
No.
Okay.
But when I was thinking about things that are dead, you know, just
Okay.
like you
Oh
do
my God.
casually.
I do that
This is
Casually
not the
for
place for
fun.
that.
You know, when I think back on it, I did think back on the fact that I recently found out about this because I've been deep diving some lore in Guild Wars 2.
Okay.
And I learned about the Giganticus lupicus. I don't know if anybody.
Oh, yeah.
So, for anybody who
Really?
doesn't know, the last time that like all of the elder dragons awoke, they caused massive, massive, massive destruction. It was about 10,000 years ago on Tyria as we know it, and basically eradicated or led to the demise of almost all of the actual like long-term life forms that lived there. And one of them was the Giganticus lupicus, which were essentially like giants. And there's like variations of them. I believe the Jotun are technically like an extension of that family, but they have obviously had their own demise to some extent. And they were supposed to be these like massive, semi-canid sort of entities that had lived on Tyria far before any of the others, a very ancient race. I think it'd be kind of cool if with Revenant they did something like that, like I don't know, giant seeker, or I'm trying to think of like a good name that you could call
Giant
this.
Slayer.
Land stride. Ancients. I don't know. There's something good in there. But I think that it could be really neat if they decided to completely shake this up and do something again that's different. And here at the end of Dragons, maybe bring back some form of that would give us maybe insights into the dragons themselves from the ancient spirit of Tyria.
That would be cool.
You channel Mother.
And
I
then
think
we go
Mother
to
Terra.
space.
New class.
And then we go to space. But honestly,
Titan. Hold up. D just said Titan collar in the chat. And yes, that's it. Titan collar.
just like a Giganticus lupicus comes down from the sky.
Yeah,
and
we
starts
were-
You
fighting
have
We
through.
were talking about
It gives you a
Traherne.
free, big, what is that, growth tonic. You become
Yeah.
tall.
That would be
Yeah.
totally doable, though. It'd be doable. You could like, because that's an actual thing in this game
And you
where
could
they
be
could
big.
actually affect your model scale or something, or they could
And
affect your
everybody's
power.
just
or-
like ants to you. Yeah.
I mean,
know.
maybe.
Honestly, though, when you brought up
I don't
Traherne
know.
a long time
I don't want to
ago-
say no. I want to say
Real
that might
quick.
not happen though. Maybe.
Look, I wanted to bring something really creative to the table. I've been
Oh,
over here
good.
racking my brain while I was
It's
listening to
difficult.
all of you
It
talk.
is difficult. I think I
good.
saved some of the more difficult ones to last. In all honesty,
Yeah,
that was very
you
purposeful.
really did.
Elementalist
We did
is
not study for
difficult
this test.
because Elementalist is like Elementalist. It's like, you know, you got water,
You have,
fire,
like,
earth,
four-
and air. Like, what do you want me to
four
do?
things to
Like,
juggle.
what do you want me to actually do extra with that? Like, it's already extra. Like, do you know what I mean? And then you got Revenant, where you like bring legends, and like that's the theme essentially of what they're doing. So depending on who they bring as the legend, that's going to be pretty much kind of almost the theme, but almost not necessarily because of what Kroof said with the weapons not necessarily being the same.
So are you saying that they won't bring Traherne back as a legend because he died in Guild Wars 2?
I mean, they could.
I don't think they
they
will.
could. There's a possibility. I mean, if they were going to bring anyone back, they should probably bring some kind of Lightbringer back. I don't know. Just saying. Like apples are good.
He's already in Stronghold.
Who cares about that?
I mean, they could do something. Although this
Who
might be
actually
difficult
cares about
because
Stronghold? Sorry.
I don't know if canonically, if they all die. I don't think they do, right? But they could do something where they had the spirits of all of the trainers, which would be neat. I would love that.
Or a dwarf.
We already got one.
Don't say that. I was gonna get so excited.
Imagine, Jeffro, a dwarf as a legend.
I know.
Wait, we have one.
Chalice.
I know we have one, but like, just have
we
another
have
one.
Chalice.
He doesn't.
Oh, boy.
I love it when he talks. It's so good. He's so good.
Mm-hmm.
It is good. I think
We don't age, but erosion, however.
they were so
Honestly,
good.
because of the same reason, I want Traherne, because I hate it when he talks, but I love it. You know, like it's just I hate him, but I love him.
I mean, there's so much cool stuff with him too. His connection to Ore and like his, like there's just so much that even if you dislike his character, like a lot of the things that he had to do and like his
I don't
wild
mind
hugs,
Traherne.
like
I don't
it's
actually mind
interesting.
him.
I
actually never. I don't know. I don't understand the dislike for Traherne.
Welcome
to be
to-
I
fair.
think it was memed. I think the meme got out of control.
I think they
the meme
always get out of
snowballed.
control.
Would you
Yeah,
mind
yeah,
just
yeah.
doing this thing for me, Commander? Thank you.
Good character. He's got good
He's
voice
great.
actor. I like his voice actor. It's because it's English. Probably the English accent, maybe. I don't know. But like, I think it's possible they can bring back people from Guild Wars. I understand what Kroof is saying. I think someone said something about the story, but because Traherne's in like the main story and he's also in the expansion story, and that's where things, I think that's okay because it's in a row.
They're gonna just like spoil the very end of Heart of Thorns.
I mean, how are they going to spoil it if it's the expansion? It's the
I
next
mean, that's
expansion.
kind of a good point though,
It's the
because there's
next
always
expansion.
a push to want to
Yeah.
like get new players into the game with an expansion. And I mean, of course, to be fair, you're always going to have spoilers because of the
You
trailers
can't
and all
play
that
the
kind
previous.
of stuff.
You can't
but-
play the next. I mean, if you play, this is the thing with Guild Wars 2 though. You have to play those expansions kind of. You really kind. I mean, you don't have to, but kind of in order to have like a lot of abilities that you not abilities,
really.
but like.
Some people just play Path of Fire and they don't even touch Heart of Thorns.
I
But
mean,
you
but
see-
you
but
won't have
seems to be
Gladine or
excused to be-
anything. Can
to
you?
be given the hallway pass for the bathroom. So could we please pass?
Do you need to go to the
You
toilet?
need to go to the restroom.
No,
This is
I have a
not-
question.
Oh,
What if what if the legend is a character like, say, well, no, we're not going to do Blish. What if the legend is a character like, say, Zoja, who we just haven't seen for a while, and then it's like, it's the new legend, and then you're like, wait a second, does that mean, oh yeah, Zoja's been dead this whole
That's
time?
the
Like,
most subtle way
No.
for them to just be like, she just died.
I'm gonna one up you on that. What if they're like the new expansion starts and Timey kicks it? Then they're like,
yeah.
Jesus
Timey,
Christ.
it's your
You need to play
Hey,
that. Play
they
the
set
snippet
it
of this
up in season
podcast
4.
when you do the hosting of
Oh,
the show,
man.
and that could be your intro. People would be very sad.
I also
Oh
Although
have
actually
a theory
really
about
pap-
Timey that I
Probably
think
happy.
Timey will be like Blish and have to put herself in a golem. That's my theory.
For
Yeah,
sure, because
I-
then she
I-
can never die.
They're not going to kill her off because she's
They're gonna
she's still a
shield
child.
her.
She's still a child, right? How old is she?
I
Or
think she's
16?
like 16, 17 maybe.
She's technically.
I think her voice actor's older than that, though.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
they
yeah.
always are.
Oh my gosh. Although also just as a note, totally
Jimmy
this can't just
Neutron.
anything. Her voice actress is fantastic. I just want to
So
say, like
good.
some of the most impactful moments in this game. Holy cow! It's like her just going and just nailing it. But news theory, maybe she just becomes Bubbles champion, and then that magically heals her body.
Hey, perfect.
I'm gonna say that, and then
Okay,
we're gonna be best
Timey-
But
friends.
we do not
There's
have a
already
focus.
such-
But wait. So if you think
We've
about the
gone so
legends, how
far.
much time have we got? Okay, we've still got time.
Off base.
If we think about the legends, right, and each one what they do, and we've got a specific healing legend, we've got damage, we've got Condi legend, we've got a
And protection.
protection, a straight up
destruction.
damage legend. What kind of legend are we missing?
I covered this Jabro.
Go on, go
Interrupt
again then.
legend.
Leading the charge.
Boon Rip, Interrupt Legend.
And that's
Boon
the one
Rip.
then. Okay,
I want Boon Rip.
so then that's the thing.
I think it's a mix of the two.
And it's not the
Dylan does bring a good point. There are a lot of melee legends already, and I do think that Revenant is lacking some ranged potential.
Mhm.
But
I don't know if a Boon Rip legend
Great
is
Sword.
like
A ranged Boon.
they did
Interrupt
Spellbreaker.
Legend.
Spellbreaker is. Yeah, true. I think Spellbreaker is weird though.
Well, I kind of like you can add other
don't
effects
know, it's
around boon play styles, like ripping boons, destroying your
Well,
own
it's more
boons, sacrificing
corrupting.
your
I think
boons.
corrupting would be a good one. A corrupting legend would probably be something they should do if they were
So
gonna
you
do that.
you have a lot of melee guys, but what you could do is you could have you have fast-paced melee, but you could have a slow greatsword,
Yeah.
methodical kind of melee as well. That maybe when you take a swing, it does 600 range attacks.
It has an echoing shockwave.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Okay. So I think we're a bit stuck on
Downstate
this one.
legends.
So this is good. So we talked about some kind of stuff for Revenant. I mean, I still think we're still in a vague area of this. We're thinking character
All of this is
potentially
vague and blurred.
for
I am.
Go on.
I'm gonna call it. I'm hopping on the giant train. I'm hopping on that because I just think it's a cool concept. And if we're going to talk about those like the range shenanigans, I say make it something like Tread of Titans and it causes shockwaves or something or Tread of Giants. That'd be so cool because they kind of have that lupine element. You can have some kind of shout that's like a howl. I don't know, but this is what I've got, and I'm into it, and that's what I'm gonna
have Giganticus Lupicus wielding a katana.
Anything's possible. I mean, his hands are kind of a little.
Can you? Sure.
Like,
should you? I don't know.
she's a little withered.
I do like the idea of like summoning like an actual Giganticus, though. That is pretty fun. And yeah, I just think that's good. It can just kick people.
Or because he's so big, we attach katanas onto his toenails, and then as they stop, it slashes everyone.
It's perfect. Did it. Well, Jeb, we figured it out. So that's the new elite spec.
I want to get that man.
Okay, so engineer. Let's go. Okay,
Engie!
cool.
I wonder who mains Engie here.
I
don't know
and
if
so
any of us
Everyone
do.
does.
I'm going to only be the only one that's going to talk about engineer today. I want to be very clear about this. I will allow no room for anyone else to discuss, particularly not Jebro,
Man.
who doesn't love engineer as much as I do. I'm kidding. I think what we need to do.
I mean, I think I'm the only one who actually is an engineer here, so maybe I should be the one talking.
technically an
Hey,
engineer.
one time I did tighten a screw with a screwdriver. Okay.
What is engineer missing? I'm actually gonna quickly nip to the bathroom as well. So I want to know.
Perfect.
I'm old now. You gotta go when I can do it. I'm joking. That's not a problem I have. I want the thoughts. What is engineer missing? Chat as well. Bring it. What are we missing, peeps? What is engineer missing as a thing? I'm gonna be literally 2 seconds. I'll be right back.
I just go
2
first this
seconds.
time.
That's world record. Oh, he's done. Oh.
Why don't you just have like a bottle near your computer or something?
I was all boots. I was just going to say, Jeb's going to take 2 seconds because he's going to step right over and use the bottle that's next to
I didn't know if this was going to be crass, but I would have been like, I don't have to go anywhere to use the bathroom. When the world is your bathroom, you don't have to go anywhere.
You heard it from
Okay.
Cruz.
Yeah.
Cruz's new slogan for all
practice
channels.
proper hygiene. Even chamber pods back in the day, a lot of plagues, a lot of bacteria. These have hygienic qualities, people.
I have a feeling that we should wait for Jebril because he will come back and then say as part of his section the things we just said.
Probably.
Probably.
No, he already mentioned that. Oh no, I'm not gonna spoil what he want to say. But I will just point out Yukon did mention something that one of my engineer friends has mentioned. For me, I'm not an engineer main, so I don't really have like a lot of stakes in this profession. However, some people have noted a long range condition spec as well, or either just Condi application and
Well, there is a
some form of
long range
longer range
condition.
kind of. Actually, fair point.
Pistols are both Condis.
No, they're
and both
mid-range.
range.
But they're mid range.
Yeah, 900 is, I mean, Or is
Yeah,
it 600 to 900?
1200 though.
And the closer you are for some of
1500.
them, yeah. It's true. It's true. I think you're right, but I think that the trick is to have the traits be decent Condi traits, and then that would that would help.
I mean, rearing from the impact of Path of Fire, I'm always very scared about large AoEs and Condis, okay? So going into End of Dragons, it's like, do we want to touch Condis? Do we need to touch Condis? But for Engineer, it could be an area that they could maybe see a bit more extra help in.
What was it?
I went.
Very quickly, what
I
was
was
it?
just,
Sorry,
I was
Chris.
just mentioning possible more use for Condis.
Okay. Awesome.
Condi traits. We want Condi traits. And Rook was
Yeah.
about to say something important, but then you.
Oh, I went very different with this in that I have wanted for Engineer since the get-go for you to be able to put your butt in a golem. Like
I have that written down.
all that I want. I just want to be able to go in a golem or like to have like, be a golemancer in some way, shape, or form. Like
Literally there.
I
was
just
gonna say
love
that too.
them. So like for me, I don't even care. I don't even need new weapons. Like just put me in
Yes.
one of the golems and then
Yes.
make it so that I don't.
Have
when
you
I'm
ever
in
made
that,
an Asura?
I actually do have an Asura. Yes, I was
Have
like,
you
can I
ever
have one
used
Asura?
their racial traits ever?
Yeah, you might want to go
No.
and do that because you can do that on the game already, right?
Yeah, no, okay.
They're
Look,
not good. They're terrible.
It's not
like
very
many of the other racial traits, they don't like form the foundation of your gameplay. And if they already have some of the stuff that you can do
Not
with
engineer though. It's more
Yes.
the racial thing.
Yes.
yes, like
So, yes, Rook.
yes, I want that, and I don't even care what they do with it. I don't care. Like my first thought was something like a tank, where again, because poor Chronomancer has been in the punishment corner for so long, they, like we get something else that can like really hold down the fort in that regard. But I mean, I could also see it giving some kind of range if you can shoot projectiles or something like that, or out of your fists, or you do lasers. We talked about lasers. You do something like that, a laser light show, and everybody's
Why are
super
you talking
into
about
it.
that like that when you talk about lasers?
It's the lasers.
Sounded like a very Austin Powers-y thing.
Well, it's just
says in
Sharks with lasers on their head.
Valance says in chat that Hollow Forge already has a golem.
It's not necessarily golem, but I think if we were going to do golems, I couldn't see them on the utility skills, but rather like an F5.
It's also just a hologram of a golem.
Oh, he's doing a LOL emote. He's just talking about
Yeah,
He's just being
and it's
fun.
not genuine, but
That's not a genuine comment. Okay, so you're
but I
saying Condi.
see where it's going.
And Rick, what you were saying, so you're talking about golems, robots of some kind. Is that too close to gyros, or is gyros like just different, complete thing,
Totally
or is
different.
it okay?
Different.
Totally different.
Okay.
Survey says different.
different.
I also have 8 things written down here, but you go first, Jeb, because I think we need to hear from you. About
No,
Engies.
I'll go last. That's the idea. But
Oh,
Rick, is
okay.
that all of your ideas, Rick? Is there anything
No.
else you thought about, or is it like they're missing?
I
It's
mean-
missing. It's missing. This is where we are right now.
Oh, that is missing. I mean, for me, I think
They're
it's
missing
funny.
golems, which is what you said. So.
I mean, yeah, I agree with what everybody else said. I just think that like there's so many cool technological things you can do. So I'll wait until we get more into the like concept, the conceptual
Okay.
part again, because
Ooh, okay.
I mean,
when
yeah.
concept and lore, I have some things.
Okay, we'll get there. Boots, what's it missing?
Yeah, golems for sure. Condi traits that are good for sure. And then also I wanted a spec that had good self-healing options, like a lot of good self-healing to make the medical dispersion field really shine,
Scrapper kind of does.
It doesn't heal. No, it's got a lot of barrier.
It's a lot of
Does
self-sustain
heal
though.
quite a lot.
But it's
You
got a lot
can-
of self-sustain, but it's not like a little. It's got a little bit of heal. I mean, the
Take a
healing.
med kit.
You could take a med that heals other people more than it heals you.
Still, you get the
Depends
double
if
up.
you use the water field and blast
It's
it.
pretty okay.
pretty
I
good.
just think you need a trait line that's not inventions, that's good at healing yourself, therefore, and also other people, but
Yes.
medical dispersion field.
Hell yes. They
Yeah.
need to that is the most important thing. Should I tell you what's missing with Engie right now? They need to put in another trait line that is supporty, but isn't inventions or alchemy. Because I swear, man, in every single build you will ever make with engineer in PvP or World v World, if you're not having one of those trait lines, you're done. Like, I mean, it's very risky, and I know people do it, but I would like to have other options because, good lord, it's just like every single engineer build I think I do on my YouTube channel is like, yeah, so we've got alchemy again, everyone. You know that one. I'm not going there again. It's got inventions. I'm not going there again. And those build videos get shorter and shorter every single time I'm doing it. And I know I'm talking about PvP, but even when I go into like support builds in like any content, it's like inventions and alchemy. It's more inventions sometimes, obviously, because there's protection. You've got protection. Holosmith and everything else in PvP, which is just, I think, is cool, but I like the Condis give engineers an issue. But like, I think, again, like you're saying, Condis going out aren't great. They used to be, and I think they nerfed grenades a bit, and you know, there's no real significant output of condition damage. Like, flamethrower is a power weapon.
Flamethrower is disgusting.
Weird. Yeah, sorry about that. That's my fault. And also, what else is there? Like, there's nothing really. I mean, there's grenades. There's not really anything. Like, even like the burning bomb and the bomb kit
there's
is
bombs.
Like,
I mean,
that's it.
You could, okay. So I made with Zephyrite runes a quickness scrapper that is a Condi quickness scrapper, and it kind of works.
Condi's quickness scrapper works. Yes. Yeah, I know it.
And it's just like you stack the most Condi, like you take a lot of kits and then you stack the most Condi delivering
pistol scrapper Condi works and is fun. It is fun.
Pistol scrapper, and then you take bomb kit and crowbar just for number 3.
Yeah. It's a good confusion.
Stack 14 stacks of confusion on someone in like 2 seconds, and then
but it's not much, right? So
it doesn't have the traits to support it. Is the problem?
No, that's true. So this is actually a class which is definitely missing something like that, because they actually used to have, because it used to be, we used to have HGH Condi pistol core engineer was a thing. I remember Teldo playing that back in the day. Like legendary old school PvP, awesome dude. Likes pandas a lot. And
Pandas are cute.
He's a nice guy. I think he's from Germany. I can't remember. But like, there were loads of people. There were fun builds. Offhand, like pistol is fun because it's just this flame blast that you shoot in someone's face. It's great. And then you got like, you know, the poison on the second ability. But so I feel like this is going to be very Condi focused. If it's not support, which is I think like a hardcore support specific thing, then it's gonna be should be Condi. I agree. I think that's what you're saying, Boots. I think that's what you think is gonna happen, maybe.
I think because you know there's 3 trait lines in every spec, and I think one will be a more Condi focus, one will be a more support focus, and one will be some random shit that we don't know yet.
I mean, they also, with the expansion, they could introduce new combat mechanics. I mean, barrier was new. I don't know what else they could do, but you know, you never know.
I mean, actually, Valor makes a good point. That's actually very true. Interesting how for Rev we have no idea for mechanics, but Engie has no ideas for lore. I mean, this is the thing. We haven't got there.
Boon rip interrupt.
We did have to be an interruption. No.
I mean,
I got the lore.
We talked, I'm going to add this into dovetail really quick. We did talk about the idea of adding in, we were talking about previous support specs, right? Some kind of shield, like not just something that, you know, ups your resilience or things, but like something that would be an actual shield within the world of Guild Wars 2, which I could see kind of being interesting with Engie. If you could, like, if we're talking about some kind of real support build or something, like something like field medic comes to mind, but you know, maybe you could actually apply some kind of shields or like send out little shielding things to your allies or do that sort of thing. And then like for the support it has.
Yes, magnetic engineer. and you give your allies a lot of magnetic fields, a lot of reflects.
I like it. I like it.
Actually,
Reflects aren't
leads
good.
into some of the
Reflects
things.
aren't always good though.
What about
You have to be
weapon?
very careful. It's
I would double maces.
okay, so the main thing, if it's going to be a support build, I really want a kind of a fixer, like a proper actual, like it would be called just the fixer. It is a really simple phrase, the fixer.
I think I called it the repairman.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know. I
it
don't
would
know
be
if
the
it-
same kind of thing, but like
The
they did
fixer
have.
doesn't.
But
I want to
bear
think
with
of
me.
brand.
Bear with
Or
me. Bear with me,
Golemancer.
Kroof. Okay.
I mean, Golemancer is really my answer on this, but
if you use, yeah, I mean that as well. And if, yeah, Golemancer would actually be a cooler name, but I like the fixer just because it's a very English kind of like the fixer. The fixer is the guy who, you know, like does he fixes things. It's not just
call me Mr.
necessarily actual
Fixer.
fixing things, but fixes, you know, fights, fixes, you know, things that go wrong in the world. Like, you know, it's more of a very open thing. Yes, Boots.
It's giving me
doing
Bob
random
the
things.
Builder.
But like, Bob the Builder. I mean, Bob the Builder is cool. What are you talking about, Chris? Jesus.
yeah, Jeb.
Brother-
Job's done.
Okay,
So
I hear.
That's
I guess
World
we're
of
kind of
Warcraft.
starting to.
What are you talking
We're
about?
we're
That's
starting to kind
literally
of go
a
into more
human
conceptual
peasant. You're just cutting down wood.
concepts and lore, and I think there is a major aspect of the lore that can directly influence the elite specialization for engineer.
Okay,
And
right. So that's what
is
we're going
the-
on to then. Theme. Kroof can go
I
in the
would
theme. I will
say-
not talk about mine. Fine.
Oh no, you didn't finish. Oh, you finished.
I was nowhere near finished. Absolutely
Oh, you
nowhere
see,
near.
you
No.
Jeb, I'm
We're
just
going.
sorry.
No.
Jesus.
we have asked
is
you so much
excited.
about the
It's okay.
fixer.
No.
Please,
The
go ahead.
fixer is just
No,
his name. And that's
finish.
it.
Finish.
Well, I mean, I
No,
like the
I
name
will-
the fixer, so
we'll come.
continue.
I will. I
Okay.
want. I will just quickly talk about it. All the thing was mainly was that the toolkit in the game was meant to be something that was used to fix things, to fix turrets, and it's supposed to be, but it doesn't ever get used to do that. It just it's
Because
just
nobody
not.
uses turrets.
Like because no one uses turrets. They're not really fun. AI is not that fun unless you're a minion mentor, and I still don't know why people find that fun. But like I think because I'm about to get a hail of noise once again.
I'm about to paste something in Discord that I wrote.
Okay.
Aw,
go ahead.
is it a poem?
No, it's. Go ahead, Jebro.
But like I'm not gonna read that right now because otherwise my ideas will go. But something when you if you're healing necessarily, I'm not sure if it needs to be a bot or anything, but I feel like a mace would be good with a shield because that would be very much, you know, it would have to be like a mini spanner maybe because already the big wrench is like the hammer for Scrapper. But the thing is like I'm like, is it too close to Scrapper? Will people like be like, it's too close? There's just a lot of support. You already res people, and it is supportive, but it really didn't pan out that way. I think they went for a support build.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's essentially what has just been. I mean, it is essentially a support because you send out a bot to res, and I think that's a lot to do with it. And yes, there's barrier and stuff, but in PvP, it's more of a side noder. And I've tried to play support Engie as a support role,
It doesn't
and it
really
works.
give barrier
It's-
to other people.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
not
I've
really
always
like
thought of Scrapper as actually more of a
does,
tank
but
rather than a support.
not often. It gives
Yeah.
it through the gyro usage, but it doesn't.
No,
but
you
that's
have
one.
a passive trait that gives you 10% barrier based on your damage.
Well, that's
so
for
every
self,
scrap has
yeah.
access.
Yeah.
Yeah, to yourself. So if,
Interesting.
But the
you wanted
gyro
to use
is
support.
AoE kind of barrier.
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah,
so there
if
is
you're,
a little
if you're
bit,
a
but it's not
DPS
much.
scrapper in raids, you're unkillable because you just
Yeah.
constantly have
Yeah.
12,000 more health or whatever.
It's
What's
more of
funny
a
is that-
bunkering kind of support yourself, and you can kind of spread
Yeah.
that support around as long as they're close, because you can spray them with medkit, and like the heal's not bad, but then also like you can res people as well. So it's very much like an off support in raids. It is very good because you have quickness. So you 5 people quickness heal. Scrapper is actually really excellent, to be fair, because you can you've got permanent quickness uptime because you use your gyros. You've got a really good amount of healing. You've got Condi removal as well when you need it, and so it does have that role for raids, which is actually okay. In PvP it doesn't work because it's got no the self survival isn't great, and it's not.
Doesn't have
Yeah, it's
finesse.
not got as. It doesn't pump it out, like Elementalists. It doesn't really chuck out that healing and defense. So if it was going to be like a support build, it'd have to be different to Scrapper. It'd have to be probably more barrier, or protection, which is what maybe
Or more
kind of
healing.
Yeah, or
right?
just like
Or more
if they
PvE.
upped the actual, I don't know, like application or usefulness. Because what I was kind of envisioning is actually pretty close to that playstyle that you were describing with like the barriers, except it seems like they just aren't quite like efficient enough to like use and manipulate and like maybe potent enough in and of themselves that like you wouldn't need the healing because the shields are so strong. You know what I mean? Because the barriers are so strong.
That's
Like
correct.
Scourge, basically.
Yeah. Like
But,
if they
yeah.
adjusted something like that and then created some sort of spec that was more pure healing focused, I could see it.
I think you're right. I think barrier should probably. The problem is I'm worried that they would pull a Scourge, and it would be awful in areas. So like,
Here's the thing.
it would be
when
difficult.
it comes to support and supportive game styles, I love healing. But I think Guild Wars 2 does have a problem where if you are doing a supportive role, you can also use that as your method to tank. So I think if this is a situation where we change these things like with Scrapper, it would have to be where barrier that is applied to yourself, that you apply to yourself, is much weaker, but you give stronger barrier to allies. You have to have some sort of ability to where, or some mechanism where you can still die and not just be the big tank that makes everyone else
Yeah.
super tanky.
I
I feel Guild Wars 2 still struggles with that.
I feel like they're not gonna go barrier with the new elite spec for
Yeah.
for Engie because they already have the scrapper, even though the scrapper barrier is for itself mostly.
Yeah. Possible.
I think they can do a line besides the Condi idea we had that does go more self healy or healy to other people. Right now, the best they could do is lots of. I mean, they have their heal skills and stuff, but they have lots of combo fields they could blast to make medical dispersion field do the 50% to everybody around them. But I feel like they need traits to do a little bit better than that. A line along the same lines as Salvation for Revenant, but maybe not all three sides of it doing that. Yeah,
I could see. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna go to all my other things, but I feel like we're not there yet.
Oh, I was just thinking back on the idea when we were talking about Condi. I mean, something like Demolitionist might be fun. I know in chat I saw a brief thing talking about focusing
concepts.
on like, explosions and focusing more maybe on that, like the fire elements, even with like flamethrower things that seem as though they shouldn't just be power, but like you could maybe do something more with like the idea of a demolitionist and focus like on expanding some of those to where you would have things like some kind of Condi with it. I could see something like that.
Yeah. I think in terms of concepts for End of Dragon specifically, the lore mechanic that would be kind of connected could be Brother actually hit it on nail on the head, and Valid had said that there's no lore possibility for Engie. The Aether Blades are in Cantha, as we have seen from the Aether Blade symbol in the flag in the teaser trailer, and it's often, even before then, been rumored that they've gone to Cantha. So the Aether Blades could be a nice groundwork for some engineer-focused elite specialization.
Like,
Is the Aether Blade so is Aether Blade outfit the one with all the gears on it?
Yeah, it's more
Yeah, okay.
steampunky.
Steampunk.
yeah. If it was steampunk, I'm in love. Like, steampunk is my jam, man. I love steampunk stuff. It's awesome. Yeah.
So they could at least go in that direction in terms of lore and reasoning. We got some lore in Path of Fire is like, what is a mirage? What do you guys do? Why is this here? So for engineers, you could be like, the Aether Blades are here. The engineers kind of reconstructed the land and helped and created these like golems or whatever, and like these steampunky electrical things. So I think there's a lore basis for engineer.
I mean,
And
just golems
Path of Fire,
themselves.
there really wasn't. Yeah.
Having a Golemancer, if we're doing Golemancer, that is pure lore itself as well, right? Like,
Yeah,
you're
I mean,
a Golemancer.
And the Inquest did work with the Aether Blades during season 1. So maybe they used some of their Golemancy technology from the Inquest. And that's what I think, because I don't play engineer, I focused more on the lore. So I was like, how could this work for me? So that's my contribution really to Engie, is that I'm kind of gung-ho for the Aether Blades.
Yeah, I like the idea of tying it into the Aether Blades. I could see that. If not Golemancer, I could see that being very good. I just want to get in the
electrical
Golem.
fields.
Yeah. Okay, so should I just run down my point list here really
You can
quickly?
if you want.
Yeah, I mean, do it.
All right, so weapon. I think there's a lot of options for weapon, but for engineer, if we're going pure like what an engineer would actually use, it's maces. Right at this point, it's maces, maybe a main hand mace, maybe a double mace. Then I was thinking, what can you do for maces? Is it just going to be melee? That's a little boring. I was thinking maybe instead for the auto attack, for example, it's like throwing hammers, and you toss it. It goes really fast, but it's like a magnetic throwing hammer.
You
so
mean
you toss it
basically Thor?
like
Yes.
Thor. It's
Yes,
a
let's do
magnetic
it.
throwing hammer.
Let's do
you
it.
toss
We're
it,
there.
you magnetically pull it
Aether
back.
Blades, lightning. You're doing this Thor thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. You magnetically pull it back.
Okay.
It's your auto attack is faster depending on how close your enemy is because it takes less time for it to come there and go there and come back. It's
Hammer Revenant as well is a thing.
Max 600 range because it's a throwing hammer rather than crazy stuff.
Yeah.
And if they're at 600 range, it's like tonk 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 tonk. But if you're like 300 range, it's like tonk 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 tonk. You know, pretty fun. What else? Oh yeah, so I was talking about the extra Healy.
Uh-oh.
No!
I thought it was me. I was like,
I thought that was me too. And then I said everyone's eyes moving. I was like,
he's
oh, it's not me.
focused so hard right now.
Wow.
So intensely.
Is there's people that paints their skin to look like steel and stand out in public? Wow, you're doing such a good job. Wow, Boots.
I do really like Boots' idea of doing stuff with like magnetization. Oh yeah.
It makes sense from the pictures as well that I'm seeing from like Aether Blade and
Oh, gosh.
the fields and everything else. Like it does make
Oh my
some
god,
sense.
Boots was leaking. ANET DDoSed him.
Yeah,
Wow.
just leaking in, getting all that info out there. Got too close. Yeah, I mean, I could definitely
Trying to
see
see if I
something
can
like
find
that
some
where
stuff.
either like
Scrambling.
manipulating magnetic fields or doing other things like that. You could have the thrown weapons. You could, I mean, yeah, you could do all sorts of things.
I think all of these ideas, the weapon in particular is so interesting because there's so few weapons. Part of me, I think hammer's a really great idea that Boots said. There we go.
I'm back.
Boots is back.
Welcome back.
Where did I leave you guys?
Something with the maces, I think.
You had just finished talking about the
out
distance.
one when you were
Yeah.
making noises. You're going badoom badoom badoom, and then you said
The
something
closer
else.
you are, the faster they go, because it takes less time to get there and back.
Okay.
Like Thor's hammer, closer than yeah, okay. And an extra Healy, a Healy spec to make medical dispersion field really shine. Decent set of Condi traits. I said engineer's kind of a jack of all trades, a master of none. So I wasn't sure what to add to it. What could it master? I still don't have an answer to that. But the next thing I was talking about was maybe a repairman kind of deal. I actually wrote this down. Utilities and the core functionality that give you maybe additional mechs like golems or machines, and your hammers, your maces repair those mechs, and also would repair turrets, kind of like your toolkit, and traits that buff mechs and turrets as well. And a Golemancer. I don't know. It's tough. It's tough. But I like my throwing hammer idea. That's basically the whole deal.
You can like use the hammers as like a defibrillator. You're like charging it up and just zapping someone to life.
Yeah.
There you go. Easy peasy.
And if it's a magnetic guy who's doing the magnetic hammer deal, he could do those shield things that you were talking about, Rook, where you give your allies all those shields, the magnetic shields.
Yeah, I mean, I could absolutely see that. I don't know if, again, because we talked about the fact, like, I feel like I'd almost rather see them rework some of the barrier stuff that already exists and then focus on some new element with this new elite spec. But I think you could do a lot of really fun playing around with the idea of magnetization, right? Where, like, either, gosh, there's so much you could do. Like, you could put something down where, like, no matter where you were on the field, if you like recalled or you like activated it a second time, it would like call one of your projectiles or something over to it as though like you had created like a point of polarization or something like that. So you could, get, I don't know, maybe more interesting ways that you could attack. You could do all kinds of stuff. I like the idea of your healing robots. I mean, I think that honestly, like if you're going to have a bunch of little minion mancy kind of things, it's kind of fun to have the idea of them, like your healing or your different abilities as far as support go. If you get a whole bunch of them out and then they're able to be repaired as you go, and they could, heal or like put down the little fields or like spread what you're doing to different areas around where, like, if we're talking about there just not quite being enough range with some of those healing potencies and abilities and things like that. You could even have them kind of be like repeaters where they repeat whatever you're doing and then that kind of spreads on. I like all of those kinds of concepts. I even had a wild moment where I was like, if it was something like, what did we see in the chat? I thought I saw magneticist, which I liked. I liked that idea where you could almost, and I don't know how they would do this, but it would be so fun where you could affect your own, magnetization. And you could almost like put yourself into a pseudo flight mode. Not that you would be flying like on a mount, but something that would give you like great mobility for a period of time.
Like, I am Iron Man kind of.
Jumps.
So we could combine Thor and Iron Man, and we just get all of them up in one character. It would be so down.
So we could just call it the Avenger.
Yes, we'll just call it the Avenger, and it'll have something from all of them.
The Iron Man idea is actually pretty cool itself because it kind of fits in a little bit with the Golem idea, but it doesn't have to be necessarily a Golem. It could just be a suit of armor. Now they have changed, Photon Forge. That Photon Forge, the hollow form is a way of them changing, what they are essentially in terms of their suit. So like that could be a thing. And which enables them to have different abilities. Again, it could be something like, like Photon Forge, where like your abilities change into something else and you get another weapon. And then we've forgotten about this, I think, at times with some of the classes we've spoken about before. I think, and that is a very unique thing. I mean, I know we've got, there's Druid, obviously, or Celestial Avatar, which is essentially the same thing. Just a different bar, a different place. So there is that for that. So I'm expecting to see one of those for a class in this expansion. Still not sure which one it's going to be. There's the hand up. I don't know if we've discussed it. We may have for another class. I don't know.
And Boots.
Thank you.
The teacher.
What if we take Kroof's idea for the Revenant, which is the Dark Knight kind of idea, and say Batman instead of Dark Knight? And then say, what does Batman have? A utility belt. Utility belt toolkit, and go full on the toolkit for Engineer. And because Engineer also is one of those specs that doesn't have weapon swap, right?
Only out of combat, yeah.
What if you give weapon swap to Engineer, but instead of it swapping its weapon, it swaps toolkit skill, like a secondary type of toolkit skill for each of its, like, you then have to, I don't know how many utility skills an Engineer has, maybe 40 or something like that. You'd have to make 40 new toolkit skills, but it wouldn't be that bad. And then just have you
just say the kits. You just do the kits only or something. Oh no, no, it would be 40. It would be a lot.
Yeah. But you'd weapon swap your toolkit skills. I think it's doable. I mean, they did 64 or something like that skills for Weaver when they made Weaver, so it's not out of the realm of possibility.
True. I do like the hammer though. The hammer. I think I'll just go with the hammer. Like, I feel that makes sense. Like,
you could call that new one you were just talking about, maybe Gadgeteer or something like that. Or just like
I've got build cool gadgets here somewhere.
I think well, if we're calling the first one Avenger, we should just call this one Batman.
Probably, yeah, sure.
As the one that would probably not ever be called Batman, then yes, probably.
If any, that would work probably for like Necromancer and like life, like.
Well, so the Condi one. So if it was going to be Condi, then what weapon would it be? If it's going to be Condi, is it going to be mace though, or what else is it going to be?
That's tough, eh?
If it was Condi and if it was long range Condi, I would probably say staff, and you use it as kind of like a conduit, and then you discharge lightning, and it causes like confusion or like vulnerability.
And that's not like Condi damage though, because we're saying Condi damage is a thing which is missing, and like Condi like
confusion does damage.
Yeah, but we've got confusion on the flipping toolkit. Like, it's not good. Confusion is cool. You can't rely on confusion.
So I'm saying
to do damage,
Confusion in
so-
PvP is potent.
Well, yeah,
I'm
but
saying
like
the
in raids
weapon
and
might
stuff.
not be that necessary as long as the condi's on the traits. Because
we
you're
were
probably,
talking
if you're going to
about
do a condi spec, you're probably going to go back to your pistols anyway, right? So as long as you just have condi on your traits, people will be happy.
You know what? Torment could be on the staff. Lightning torment as well. If you play Dead by Daylight, there's a doctor and it's very tormenting with the lightning and zappy zap.
Staff is so interesting to me as an idea here because, like,
Golemancy.
I mean,
like-
I don't. Maybe okay. You know what? You've done it. You just unlocked it. You unlocked it for me. You know how we have golem control rods in the game?
Yeah.
Yes.
You could have your staff function as almost like a control rod. And it could be something where, like, you are issuing the commands with your staff, or
That would
something
be so
with that.
strange for a weapon.
I mean,
I
it'd be
would issue
weird,
commands
but
with my
like,
staff.
I actually can't. Like, I'm trying to reconcile otherwise the idea of like a staff, especially with the staff skins and look and cosmetics and everything that we have in game on Engie, unless like you leaned into something that felt more arcane-ish, which I guess you
Yeah.
could lean kind of into that, you know, the magical component that marries with technology in the game, which you could do, you know, like, I don't know, Eternal Alchemist or something like that. You could do something like that. But I otherwise have a lot of trouble envisioning staff just thematically with
Yeah.
engineer. Control rod is like the closest I could come to thinking of something where I'd be like, this would maybe make sense based off of what we know.
Mhm.
I like double maces. I just like that as an idea as well.
I think it's fine.
Maces are fine. They don't have a dagger.
True.
Who can
I
brings
don't
up
really
a
need one though.
or you can
But-
bring up a good point about like magnetism almost being like a form of magic to some degree. So using a staff maybe for that.
Like a lightning rod.
Yeah, lightning rod I could see.
I can definitely see
Kind of-
Golemancer being a thing because it is a thing already in the game. They shift it over to something where they.
Now, how
I
would it
would
be
like
different? How would it be different from our amazing idea of a necromancer spec that creates a demon that you summon and control?
I mean,
You
for me,
get
it's
in
just
the
you get
golem.
in the golem, and then it's your power suit, and then
But that's
maybe
what you
like,
do with the demon.
well, it depends because the demon
It would have to be
so we were
good.
talking about
It would
like
have to be
yeah.
good. It'd have to
we
be
were
different.
talking about like translocating yourself into, or what is it called when you like leave your own body and then you like go on some sort of spirit, like a soul
projection.
journey. Projection.
Yeah,
Yeah.
projection.
So it would have to be something different from like projecting yourself into a little minion who would probably have like reduced health and stuff, you know, like whatever it was with that.
It would be a suit
Being
which
a Golemancer, yes,
It'd be
Jeb.
like Titanfall.
Yeah, it's like a
Yeah.
suit that enhances your own abilities and strength or resilience or
It would
Maybe
have-
you're stationary in the suit, but you have like 1600 range, and you just fire. You're like this big turret
No.
thing.
And if you have
don't
four
ruin it.
friends to have five, if you have four, hold on. If you have
Imagine World
four
versus
friends,
World. Imagine in World versus World,
No,
everyone's on the
don't.
ramparts and these big turret things just like
Dude,
going away.
proof.
be like
What if
Bastion
you
and
have-
Overwatch. I've twice now I've compared Overwatch even behind
What if when you have four Golemancer friends all going together, they each have their
A
suits,
transformer.
and then you connect to each other like
mean-
Voltron and become one giant suit.
You get like a new passive bonus that's I don't know, just like
Boots, I think
fine
you
or
are going
something.
to receive an email from ArenaNet very soon saying we would like to hire you on the team.
The five utilities. So you have your heal, your three utilities, and your elite skill. Each one summons a different type of golem that you get into. One's a healing golem, one's a whatever, blah 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 blah.
Oh my
If you have
gosh.
5 people in the same location that summon each individual type of golem, they connect it to Voltron. And
That would be
just
so incredibly insane. Probably
just
will
like
not
the three
happen,
wolf
but
moon. Do you guys know about the 3-wolf moon, by the way?
It's the T-shirt or the piece of art.
The T-shirt, the piece of art, yeah. In
Yes, I
game,
do.
it exists. Did you know this? You didn't know this.
Come from? Why?
If you are a ranger and you get 3 rangers together and you all do Call of the Wild at the same time.
Oh, it's 3 Wolf Moon. I
It's
see.
3 Wolf Moon. No,
I see.
a unique animation happens.
What?
Yes.
Wait, what?
Yes.
What?
Yes.
Hold on, I've been since the betas, and I have never heard of this.
We are
never
so
heard this either.
It is a
off
real
topic
thing.
now. I don't even know what to say.
No, Jeb, I'm bringing it back.
We are
What Boots
so
is
off
trying
topic.
what Boots is trying to illustrate with this is the fact that ArenaNet is not unaware of having multiple people be in a space and execute something together, much like a super mecha Power Ranger / Voltron / whatever wombo combo.
I mean, I guess they already
Mega
do that
Mech.
because of combos existing in the game. So I guess that's already
Wait, it
something.
summons a
that-
lunar wolf. Oh my god.
It's really
I
good.
didn't
That's
actually
really
know that was a
good.
thing though, so thank you for the information.
Oh
But
my
like-
I did not know that.
So were we saying like, is this a thing? So I like the Golomancy thing. I like the hammer thing. I really like the hammer thing. I like the
The mace
Golomancy
or the
thing.
hammer?
Well, I call it a hammer, I guess. Mace, I guess,
Oh.
because it's a mace. And yeah, I like a lot of these ideas. These are all good, and I like the suit idea. I think if the suit's gonna be a thing, I don't want it to be like a golem. I want it to be a suit which just attaches to me, or it is like or it could be something you order around. But I don't like pets, and that kind of stuff. I don't like AI shit. That's just a personal opinion.
Maybe you can have like multiple different suits that you go into.
I mean, potentially, but I think it's more of an additive thing, definitely, to you rather than you get into it. Like Fire Forge, like, you know.
Or for the
Holoswift.
Grandmaster traits, like each one of the 3, you have like a healing suit, a Condi suit, and like a more self-defense suit or something.
But then what
And they
would
could literally just take the same thing and make it different colors. I mean, like, we have the different
Yeah.
versions. Although I will say that if they do go the route of golems and we don't end up with one of the cat golems, I will riot. I will riot. I will lose it because I love them so much. And the first time I ever heard them do that dumb meow in game, I lost it.
meow, meow. Oh my gosh.
What
bringing
about
back
utilities?
fractals.
What about utilities then?
Ooh,
though?
utilities.
What are there? Because we've got traps, obviously, which, you know, aren't a thing. They've already got kits. They haven't got glyphs. They haven't got like
They don't have
signets.
mantras.
They have mantras.
No cantrips.
Oh,
Lightning cantrips?
if we were
Aether-
really
Aether
going
Blade?
wild, if we were really going wild with Engie, this is very different. But we were talking about staff or that more magical thing, and you were talking
Yes.
about glyphs. I could see something like a enchanter or a rune mancer or rune, I don't know, inscriber. We have inscription already. But like I could see something like that where if you wanted to base a whole class around that, you could, and maybe slap a staff in their hand, or you know.
Yeah.
They're just
Artificer.
slapping
No
things
signets.
in people's hands now.
Artificer is a good way to put that. Artificer would be perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the
I mean, we've
that's
already
a
got
job
a craft,
already.
so yeah, we can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you get signets
Damn.
for Artificer.
No. Not the signets.
Yep, signets, gotta be signets. 'Cause, I mean,
okay.
signets, okay, so
any
in
of
lore,
them signets,
not-
they'd have to be
Jesus.
really cool. They would
in
have to
Guild
be to the
Wars
level of
2
Glenn.
lore, in Guild Wars 2 lore, signets, or Guild Wars lore actually, signets are people who can't use magic use to use magic. So
I have no idea why Mesmer's, Necros, and Ellie's can use
I don't know. They
signets.
just changed it. But originally signets were
They were
supposed to be
selfish.
like
They were like,
people who
signets are
can't
cool.
use magic would have signets and be like magic imbued in the signet, and that would be what they used for magic. So warriors had signets, etc. Now it's not exactly the same thing, but an engineer doesn't use magic, and maybe you would use signets. because
Oh.
yeah.
You know what?
Okay.
You provided a lore answer to that, and I respect that highly.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I'm just thinking. Like, it would be utility word. Yeah, it could be. I mean, that's
What,
that's true.
Jabro? You're the residential engineer main, the go-to Engie player. What do you want to play
Yes.
in the expansion.
The thing is,
What is
like
your
when
desire?
they brought Holosmith in, like it was very, very awesome. Like it looked good. It was just something completely different. And we were thinking like holograms and stuff. I think people were talking about it, you know. And but the thing is, when it came in, and I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be so cool! It looks so good." I was enthusiastic about it. I was like, "We get a sword that looks cool. You know, it looks awesome." And the look of Holosmith is very, very cool. I love it.
It's cool.
But I don't like playing it. It's boring. It's
It's
actually
my
dull.
favorite Engie.
Well, that's the
Like,
thing.
Engie
Like
is
other
my
people
favorite
do,
thing
but
to
I
play.
don't enjoy it.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
like I like
Wait,
the
depends.
abilities.
What do you mean by it's boring though? Like, what about it is boring?
It's for me, it's boring. The
Okay,
reason why
what
you know what?
about
I
it
will
is
say
boring?
it is a little paint by numbers. It's like you go in 5, 4, 3,
it's
2,
not
and then
difficult to play.
Yeah.
It's not. And like hammer is definitely more. It's not about the damage. It's more about, you know, my 5th skill is a stun. My 4th skill applies vulnerability. My 3rd skill has an evade, like, and two of the evades frames, and then the 3rd one I can switch my weapon, and then I can, you know, avoid that animation. The 2nd one is a spin to reflect projectiles. I get that off versus a Lich, or I get that off versus a Ranger. That damage goes back onto them. It's the same with other bosses in the game as well. You know, the hammer is a very cool weapon because it's got utility to it, which makes sense for the class. And then Photon Forge in Holosmith is just damage. It's just a damage class.
Yeah.
It's my own. I'm not saying it's bad, or I'm not saying Holosmith is a bad elite spec. I think it's my own personal gameplay, how I play MMOs.
But do you appreciate
I appreciate
the design
the
of it? Do you appreciate the design of like the heat?
Yeah, completely. Oh, it's great. Yeah, it's a fantastic.
It was interesting.
Fantastic
Integration.
thing. Yeah, I mean, it's like the overheating aspect, being able to do so much damage in a short period of time. That it's literally just my own style. But I think the mechanics of the class is one of the most unique things in the game, and actually probably one of the best things for like the game in terms of evolution. In terms of changing like the form as well as Druid as well. I like that because it brings in something completely outside the class and maybe what they envisioned for it, and having that create it. It was a lot of creation behind it. You know, it's not just the abilities, but like fitting in that form with the abilities, and then adding things like if you're poisoned when you are in Photon Forge, you turn green. Do you know what I mean? Like that's a really cool touch. And I think they're going to do it with a class this time. I just don't know which one. It's not going to be engineered because it shouldn't be. It should be something else. And I'm pretty excited to find out which one it is. I would be weird if they didn't. I think they're going to bring a transform for someone. I think it's going to be
in Heart
Ellie.
of Thorns, they put in multiple transforms. We had Berserker mode. We had Druid.
It's not a full transform. No, but they do it for Druid. But that was more of a permanent thing. Like the warrior, like that elite is more of an embiggen kind of like that is kind of like
just like a buff. I guess visually speaking, I see what you're saying. Okay.
It's more of like a transforming into something which is quite different. You know, Lich is always like a necro thing. That's very much a similar thing. So that was the base game, and then Druid was like Ranger, and then like Engineer is Hollow. So then it's going to be something else.
So what you're saying is we need Golemancer.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be Engie. I think because I've already had one, so it's going to be another class. I would like to have. I like borrowing from inside the game. I think having stuff from inside the game coming to classes is cool. I think they may avoid it though because it may not feel brand new. So they could bring something in like Golemancy and maybe call it something else. But I also think that's okay to bring stuff that's already in the game because there is a lot of classes and abilities where you're like, oh, I kind of like that. I wish I had that. Like, you know, when you fight Ryland, for example, there are abilities which we don't have access to, which are very, very cool. And some Bram stuff as well. And I'm just like, we have some of those fights in the stories versus some of these epic characters. And I'm like, oh, that ability. I always think, you know, if they can do this work with these characters, they've got the kit to do it for us. You know, they should be able to port that over to a player. It's just how it transfers in the game and into the different content. That's all. So you know, I don't know. I'm just excited. Elite specs are my favorite thing in the expansion. I love it so much.
So much fun.
It's so much.
Hey, you
fun.
don't know that yet. Maybe your favorite thing in the expansion is going to be something you don't even know about yet.
Yeah, exactly.
true.
Well, I know it's my personal thing as a PvP. It always has been. That's my content. My content, like big balance patches, is my content. It's what I enjoy the most. I mean,
It's pretty much everyone's content.
But, well, I mean, if you enjoy PvP, but specific, but that's changed, like raids and stuff, and now like we've been doing that, and I done a lot of Overland content as well, and I've been coming up with a lot of Overland builds. So it's more just the builds and also the places where you can use them. Like I use Scrapper everywhere for Engineer. I love Scrapper so much. It's so good.
And when you think about it, honestly, it makes absolute sense that in so many MMOs, new classes, or in our case in Guild Wars 2, elite specs, those sorts of things, right? They really, really are a huge feature, and they're something that everybody looks forward to, even if it seems kind of like a no-brainer that they're going to be there. Because when you think about it, the way that we interact with the vast majority of the game is through those classes, right? There's all sorts of other content that you can use, but like your lived experience, your experience while you roam, all of the combat, everything that you're doing, a lot of times it goes through the lens of that class that you're playing. So whether it's that like specifically you're looking more for like balance and fine tuning and, you know, builds or theory crafting, or it's just that you yourself want something that's thematically appropriate to your character, that feels good to play, that has a play style that you like. When we were talking about Hollow, I usually call classes like that straightforward classes. Like, you know, they're not, it's not the kind of thing where just because there's a straightforward class, it has to be this huge negative thing. Like, oh, it's so dumb, it's the dumb one. I'm like, no, some people really find it gratifying to have
the dumb one.
It's the dumb one, and you hear this in every MMO.
You know, it's still got its nuances with its elite, with its, because they all kill, all classes do in Guild Wars 2. So.
It's just that, like in any MMO, you have to have a balance of play styles. So some people want something that, you know, is impactful and has more of a straightforward play style. Some people want the weird, squirrely, weird ones with a high skill ceiling where you're like, I don't know, did it work? And you're just sort of trying to see, like, so it's great because you're right. There's a big balance of what we're going to be getting with these elite specs, and it is really, really cool to see how they've designed them. I hope they do more transformation stuff, because if you don't want to add new weapons, I think, or you can't, or, you know, whatever it is, you're exploring the ones that are still there, whatever it is. Transformations are such a great way to add something that feels incredibly unique, that is not going to have to be something that applies to all classes in the future, possibly as a thing, you know?
I mean, every transform we've had as well has a limitation to it. Like it has a period of time or X amount of abilities you can use before it goes away. So you're thinking Druid, obviously, you know, that goes away after a while. So overheat
the
for
demon
Hollow.
and Necromancer that we're going to transform into,
Yeah, the Shrouds, they all disappear after time with Life Force and everything else, but you can gain that. So there is very much that's got to be a feature, definitely in the expansion. I would also say, like, going off your point, Rook, as well, is that to a degree, and I'm not saying this is, you know, everyone wouldn't be unhappy with this fact, but I think elite specializations are such a big feature of each expansion that the story and the rest of the content in the expansion, and it won't be, because, you know, people like the story and they like the maps, and this could be a big hot take here. For me, everything could be awful as long as the elite specs were good. I would be fine. And I'm just saying that is how important they are for me. I'm just saying, like,
I see a little bit of that.
It's just like
it's the gameplay.
Yeah.
Oftentimes in MMOs, there are people where they don't necessarily care about the gameplay and they much prefer the story. I enjoy the story as well, so I might not wholeheartedly agree, but I am also someone who really values gameplay.
I definitely enjoy the story. Okay. I mean, I love Guild Wars too. I play everything in the game. I've got, like, you know, 30k achievement. I've got 30k achievement pace. I play the game.
I've got like poop and hates it.
I've got a lot of stuff done in the game. I've got legendary armor on 3 different classes. I've got raids completed. I've got loads of stuff done. I love the game, Jen. I'm just making a sweeping comment that if
totally understand.
It was not
if
great.
There is more lore in the next expansion and interesting story, you will hate it. Yes, no, we got it.
We totally got it. That was clear. That was, you don't have to reiterate. We got it. No, but I agree. With a video game, it's in the name, gameplay. How do you move? How do you fight? How do you interact with the product? And elite specializations are definitely a major point. And also, they reinvigorate the base classes in terms of build crafting. It interacts with the other specializations in new and cool ways. So everyone's pretty much hyped for elite specs.
It's really because we're talking about them as well. I'm not talking about anything else.
Yeah.
We spent the most time on this. We've not spent the time on
Yeah.
everything. We'll talk about the other things as they come. But like, I enjoyed, like, Heart of Thorns has lasted a lot longer than the Path of Fire content, for example, and is still relevant to this day. You know, Path of Fire, the story was cool and the maps are okay. And
What do you mean the maps were okay? They were fantastic.
I mean, they were good for
Path
mounts.
of Fire?
They were good for the mounts. The maps were
fine.
about selling the mounts. That's what the maps were about. They were
I
flat.
really like
they
the
were like,
urban area.
I would rephrase that because, like, yes. I think, you know, obviously they wanted to make use of
They
it,
definitely
but I think they built really directly off of the masteries in Heart of Thorns, right? And one of the things that I personally adore about the map design in Guild Wars 2 is the fact that, unlike basically every other MMO I've played, maybe one comes to mind where there was an exception, like, they use the tools that they have with things like masteries to increase the design possibilities of a map. Now, do I think that, like, Heart of Thorns, because we got gliders, we went extremely vertical, and then with Path of Fire, we got mounts, so we got almost more, I want to call them mini games, mini interactions, like the Jackal portals, the, you know,
exactly.
the beetle races, those sorts of things. I would love to see for this next one more of a middle ground, because I think that there's so much cool stuff in there to do with all of it. And I think they did scale back, especially some
there's
of the
nothing wrong.
verticality.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, they've got like they sold, and like I said before, you know, they made the maps. Like, they must have made those maps with those features in mind, because what you do, they do something different. The mounts is like, no other game does the mounts like Guild Wars 2 does. Like, mounts is one of the best features of the Guild Wars 2, and like, the maps that they brought in with the mount should accentuate that as well. There's nothing wrong with that. It's absolutely fine.
Come back to us, Boots.
There we go.
Your dark side is taking over.
Oh my god.
Come back to the light.
I'm back.
But anyway, we're not talking about the other things.
yes,
I brought that in. That's my fault. It's my fault.
I totally agree.
How dare you, Deborah? This
Very
is like,
dare.
you're talking like this is your podcast or something. Wow.
It's like you're passionate and knowledgeable about a lot of Guild Wars 2 topics or something.
I've played this game. It's just so funny when you start playing other games and then you're on a mount
Wait,
or
you're
something.
playing other games?
I have to, because that's what I do. I do other
Fuck,
things.
bro.
Whoa!
I am an explorer of stuff, of all things.
How dare.
I don't know if I could continue being on this podcast.
Oh,
Yeah, me
Cheater.
too. I suddenly feel incredibly
The
uncomfortable.
thing is like, as well,
Oh,
like, I
no.
know we're joking, but like, if anyone listens to this podcast and is like, whoa, you play other, like, the way you appreciate things that you have is to do other things. Like, that's
Yes.
it's just a very simple thing. Like, and to
I
appreciate
play-
Guild Wars 2
I
more.
play other games.
that's
You
why
play other stuff?
sometimes I just hold my breath.
Also, live like life, you know.
Instead
if you
of playing
experience-
games, I just hold my breath.
I think you
Oh,
mean
God.
instead of breathing, you just hold your breath.
Yeah, that's
I
the
don't know. I'm
opposite.
interpreting
I
through.
appreciate air so much more now. Ugh.
Pretty well, there
No,
you go. I
There you go.
guess.
I couldn't think I was holding my breath. I had to appreciate my breathing.
Jesus
Jeb,
Christ.
I absolutely agree with you. Like, it's something that I talk about all the time too, and I love that you have the same, you know, mindset, right? I think if we get
Oh,
too
yeah.
narrowed in on any one thing, we lose perspective on the bigger picture. And so, yeah, I mean, like, you know, we play multiple MMOs over on my channel too, and it honestly makes me appreciate and feel like I have a much better, more well-rounded critical eye and voice to lend, in a way that is balanced, you know?
Okay, so you guys all play other games just so that you appreciate Guild Wars 2 more.
Yes, correct.
That's
Yes.
the only reason,
Got
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
We're
There's too
definitely
much
not-
unique stuff. Like, I mean, you know, we know there's many games have their plus points, but at the end of the day, the only game I remember being, I always compare my excitement for when Guild Wars 2 was being announced and come out to my experience with Mortal Kombat, the first game. The first one on like SNES console back in the day, because they did something revolutionary and brand new that I'd not experienced before in my own experience, you know, putting that real person into a game, you know, and it was just like flipping out, that's so good. And then when I played the combat in Guild Wars 2, I was like, this is changing, you know, MMOs are changing, you know, action combat, more action combat, like combo fields. It combines so many elements of different games
Descriptions.
together. it was just no subscriptions. But like you buy the game, and I just got really excited about it, and ever since, it's always been there. It's always been a constant thing that's pulled our community together, and it's done a lot for me personally in the past, and it's doing for the future as well, and it's doing that for Rook and the rest of us as well. Like these things are how they involve us is very awesome. And
Guild Wars 2 basically broke the MMO scene, right? Like they being the model that they have and how good it is, and I think WildStar coming out around the same time with a subscription model kind of just broke the subscription model for MMOs. Obviously, World of Warcraft still's got itself going on. Maybe not so much longer anymore, but yeah,
the game started to go to more of a. Some went to a sub, and some went to more of a free-to-play limited thing. So like Rift did, and some other games, but like
Terra.
definitely, Terra and some. Elder Scrolls Online, you could play without a sub. They changed it for the subscription fee and all that kind of stuff back in the day, and it was like, subs weren't a thing. So it was groundbreaking. I think it's very much because I'm kind of winding it down a little bit, but like it's very underrated. I think for the amount of people that are playing the game, and the amount that it's talked about, and then it's in like top 5 or top 10s of like people's lists. I'm like, man, so many people talk about Guild Wars 2 in ways, but they never really played it much. They just kind of went maybe through the story, and that was a bit like, you didn't really get to do the things and play with the mounts and the gliders, and there's so much in the game which is so decent, and the raids and the dungeons. Like the dungeons are still content I like to play and watch people play. I mean, I know people meme about the rewards and everything else, but in the dungeons there's some very unique stuff that is very cool that people just don't experience, and like people want to play that stuff as they're leveling up and they've never played the game before. They actually genuinely do. But I mean, sorry, I'm just going on rant about how much I like Guild Wars 2. Wow. Okay.
I would like everyone to quickly appreciate that in chat I'm about to put an emote that only I and a very select few number of people are able to use.
Oh my god. Boot.
Oh wow.
No.
Amazing.
Thank you. That's a good bird butt right there. That's a good bird butt.
I would like to join
Thank you
in.
for completely changing the topic.
gosh.
But anyway.
I wanted to build off of that because I absolutely think you're right. And I don't really think this is a tangent. I mean, obviously you made a podcast about the game for a reason, and you've played it for years for a reason, and we all play it for a reason. And when you look at how Guild Wars 2, I think, has managed to tread the ground between free-to-play models and subscription models, right? The fact that, like, since they have started doing what they started doing, the scene has pushed to either polarization where, either you are, strictly buying it and then subscribing and, you expect these certain things, or you are free to play and that carries its own shenanigans with it, whether that's trying to make up for the revenue through things like, pay to win or stuff like that, right? Guild Wars 2 has somehow stayed in this little beautiful spot where they create content that, is right up there, and just like it still blows my mind with how little this game will ever cost you. The quality and the types of content they're able to release that's close up there with those big subscription games that have huge revenue behind them, while not, completely forcing or shoehorning their communities into the other maybe less good elements of a free-to-play game. It's really neat. It's honestly really cool. And it's so exciting to see that for them having really stuck to that, we have a new expansion on the horizon.
Yeah.
We have all this new stuff to look forward to. We have, so much learning they've done from the years the game has already been out. And I'm just so excited because it's rare that you see a company try to do what they want to do with a game in a scene that is so dominated by other just massive presences,
But the impact they've had on that scene is tremendous. Like, so many of those big presences have been forced to conform to what Guild Wars 2 has paved, right? Like ESO, what else? How many other?
What do you mean? What do you mean pay for? Like, I mean, what do you mean?
Like so many MMOs have started as a subscription model and had to change to the same model as Guild Wars 2 because of it being so successful and people looking at Guild Wars 2 model and saying, hey, why are you guys making us pay $15 a month when we could have this and they're doing such a good job? And
it was such a big risk. I genuinely think that, like, it was a big risk at the start, right? I mean, there's no way they could have, because they built, Guild Wars was Guild Wars. You played it, you bought the game, and that was it. And then they just went for the same model essentially and just added a store and then the potential of, buying passes and everything else. But the fact that you can pay for, we're talking about a completely different topic right now, but anyway, I feel like we were talking about this before, but it's fine. But like they just did this different thing, and you can earn, currency to spend on the sword. You can pay for with real money in the game. So essentially, you can pay for the game, and that's it. Like the value for money that this game has is ridiculous. Like it's literally like you can pay $30. And get access to pretty much most content in the game, and then most of the time they're giving the stuff that you want access to, i.e. episodes, for free, and that's what they've been doing recently. And I feel like they're going to give those away again very, very often, if not get to a point where they are free. And they're just there. That probably should be a thing that happens at some point in time. People, random. Anyway, sorry, chat, thing, comment, silly person. But like essentially in the end of the day, Elite Specializations, a great part of the game, the most important thing. But like I think so for Engie, just to wind it up, and I know we all have comments about the game.
Oh, we should make names for these. Remember? Were we like
we kind
titling
of did,
them?
Engineers got a few. So there's the engineers like the Golomancy stuff. There's the Fixer. There's the
No, but weren't you like writing them down or something?
Magneticist. You get Magneticist.
I was like, I'm pretty sure last we were like doing a full bingo card.
Oh yeah, I did.
Look at you. Great job.
Mesmer is the Echo Assassin Dagger face.
We did a really good job with the Mesmer names.
We did.
Ranger was Warden / Shaman. Warrior was monk / gunslinger, because that's
Mesmer,
cool.
wait, did we say mind stabber or something for Mesmer?
I ran out of room. I think that's why.
What was yours? Was mind assassin? I feel like
it was like
mind blade. Mind blade.
I don't think we actually came up with that though, did we? But we can add that. All right, we'll say mind blade.
That's good. That's good.
Necro was medium.
Mm-hmm.
Guardian, I can't remember.
But hold on a second, because medium was for specifically possessing other people.
Yeah, but what other names were there?
There was like
I think we landed on the medium.
The Minion Mancer or something.
I don't think we landed on anything specifically. I feel like I had to go back and watch those because it says
with
watch.
medium. And if not a lot of people play the medium, it would be medium rare.
Oh my god. Okay, can we just end this?
You're on a dab roll today. You've been dabbing nonstop.
If the dab is necessary, it is necessary.
If the dab speaks to you, you have to dab.
True. So wait,
hold on. I had something for
that.
Guardian.
Oh my god, JC.
Oh, Guardian. Well, my big one that I'm excited about is Dragon Champion.
Dragon Champion. I think that's what we decided on. Yeah.
It's like character growth.
Or just the
Dragon
champion.
Hunter. Yeah, or Champion just works.
Wait, what did we say for Guardian, sorry?
Champion.
Champion or Dragon Champion?
We're just going to call him Champion.
Yeah, because he is the guardian. You do corruptions. You're a brander. You're a dragon brander.
Okay.
We were talking about how you could wield the power of the dragons.
Oh, okay, right.
I like Dragon.
Yeah.
Dragon Knight is a good one. I do like Dragon Knight as well.
Too. Yeah.
I mean, that's too Elder Scrollsy.
I went for Champion because originally the source idea was that it was specifically themed to your bond to Aurene. When I was talking about that, like you would wield her crystalline powers, much like we see the other champions do.
You are literally the commander.
But then it like expanded. It expanded to encompass other dragons, and we talked about some of the branding stuff and things like that. Yeah.
Did we say Paragon for anything, or was it like was that too much?
We did not. But it could be Paragon.
Yeah, Paragon.
with a spear.
Or dervish, and you channel the dragons.
True. I think we did mention that. Yeah.
We said
be good.
we said ninja for faith, didn't we?
Yeah, different god avatars instead of the F abilities. Instead of the virtues, you're a different avatar.
Ninja was faith. I think we had some
is that
other
really
stuff.
what we did
That was
for
one
ninja?
of them. That was only one that I could remember. I haven't gone back and watched it, so I need to go back and watch and get the names.
Oh, there was
We
like the
ended up
assassin.
Assassin.
I mean, that's not a real name, but sure.
Wasn't that the one where you did?
Jethro and Norse
Or, like,
crew. I'm
swashbuckler.
sure we are.
Well, I mean, like Corsair is a big one, and I think that could definitely be a thing. But I think
Yeah,
we just
but-
briefly touched on it. I think yours had something to do with Shadow, didn't it? The Void or the Shadow? Isn't that what we
Yeah,
That's where this
something like that.
podcast goes
I would
after
name
I
it like
finish.
Shadowkeeper or something. I don't know.
Shadow Keeper.
Or like demon is I don't know, like yeah. But Corsair is good. Would we get sued and or get promotional material from Corsair?
Ooh, now that's a crossover.
There was a period of time
I
where
don't think we
Corsair
get
was sponsoring.
Dude.
Back on Heart of Thorns, Corsair was sponsoring.
You know
Guild
what?
Wars
You
2.
can't sue me if there's nothing to sue. So guess what? Good luck.
I talked at the PAX East. I talked to a Corsair rep who was sponsoring Guild Wars 2 at the time, and he was like, "You should really get into Twitch streaming. It's going to be big." And I was like, "Yeah, I don't know." Anyway,
I don't know the way they're going. Who
So
knows?
we got Steve, we got Warden Shaman, and then what was the other one we did? We did Warrior Knight. Okay, so our last three, Elementalist.
Oh yeah.
I posited
Name.
Cataclysm. That'll be the big one that I would put out.
The
Cataclysm.
Cataclysm.
Mhm.
Okay, I'd be down. It's hard. It's rock metal. It's
I like
grind.
it.
It's beefy.
We had a different one though, didn't we? As well.
Arcane Chaos.
Mm.
Love.
I like chaos, but I feel like it kind of steps on the toes of Mesmer a little
going,
bit.
my-
Or Chaos
Planet.
Mage. Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Okay, we'll do Cataclysm for Ellie. What else do we do today? Revenant. I would
Revenant.
pick Ritualist. I think it'd be we've never really had a direct callback,
Yeah,
and they might
Ritualist
not
is
like
good.
doing that. But I like
I
Ritualist.
still like Samurai of some kind, but Ritualist is good.
I enjoy Ritualist. I don't have any other ideas for Revenant.
Mine was just that really wild one about giants, so I don't think we should lead with that one.
No, I think that's what we settled on, right? The
We don't have
Giganticus.
we had Titan collar, but I think somebody was also saying that Titans already exist elsewhere in lore. Yeah, I mean, I think that's neat, but I would probably lean more towards the Ritualist or something else. That's more likely, far more likely.
I
Yeah.
don't
You could-
know.
You could do something samurai-esque with. I mean, Master Togo didn't.
He did not.
He did not.
Belinda. But again, if we're doing Samurai, we
Belinda.
totally do Tahern because he had Calidbolg, and then we could have Tahern's voice actor back, and he could just go wild on nagging your character.
And then Engie.
We had Fix the Golomancer, some kind of electric themed thing. Some condies. I know what condies are.
Magnetic,
Maybe.
the Fixer. Magnetic Fixer.
What was the
Fixer
rev?
of
Did we have
magnets.
did we have a
Fixer?
name for the rev? Sorry, I missed that.
I think we kind of just landed on Ritualist. I don't know.
Wow.
I think so too.
It's the most satisfying.
It is.
It's
It
difficult.
fills all those holes.
Oh boy,
Cool.
I really love that. Here we are,
My eyelash
full-grown
just
adults.
dug into my eye. Oh my
And we
god.
can't say the words "fill those holes" without laughing.
Hey, I love a donut shop.
No. We gotta keep this vaguely appropriate.
Okay.
I wanna
You
go-
also
I wanna
have
get
to
donuts
whisper. You also have to whisper Obsidian
The
as well.
giveaways.
He won the community
I did
chest.
already. I gave him the thing.
You gave it already?
Oh, nice.
Nice.
I did,
okay.
yeah.
Congrats.
Quietly.
Congrats.
Oh yeah. So
I didn't
congratulations, Obsidian, for being awesome
There you go.
and also getting a community chest from us.
Which is good.
Me.
And you should
Also
be paying
us.
attention
Mostly.
to all the things.
Congratulations! Woo!
Right. Okay. So what I'm going to do is
Another one?
that list I will have to. How am I going now? I've got things to
Oh.
We will see what happens. Come.
do. I mean, you can give one away in chat if you want. I mean, we can do that afterwards.
First person to type the word supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
No,
I don't want my chat wasted with silliness. No. We're not doing that. We're not doing that.
I've already said it.
No.
Yeah, we
that is
can't
not
let the chat
giveaway.
get wasted with silliness because the podcast already does enough of it.
We're not doing that.
we like the marketplace of ideas,
That would be
but
awful.
this marketplace is closed.
You can do that in your stream next week.
Okay, well, non-light fromage.
Well, there you go.
I just sound pretty.
Getting it.
Jesus
It's
Christ.
happening.
And
Well,
closed.
you can do it, and that's close. Good job, well done. That is not an official giveaway that I did. That's not my fault. Anyone from my community, don't blame me. That's not my thing. Okay, so we're gonna do an outro. Everyone, thank you very much for coming to the episode 19. I'm not sure if the podcast. I might have an episode next Friday. I'm not too sure as a react to the things. So stay tuned for announcements about that. But this week we have the final speculation on the Elite Specializations. Not the final one ever, because there will be inevitable talks about the Elite Specs as we get previews and all the other things, and we're just talking about them because there might be some info on Tuesday. The Chess is going to be there on Tuesday hosting the pre-show. Thank you very much for coming, and again, congratulations on that. It's awesome. We're all happy for you. You're a legend, and it's well deserved. And also tell us about what you're doing, where you're doing it, and also include something about next week.
Excellent. Yes. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much, Jeb. I am Rook, aka Bird of Chess. I'm a variety MMO broadcaster with a focus on Final Fantasy XIV and Guild Wars 2. Both of them, like we were talking about earlier, we play a lot of games, MMOs. You can catch me doing ESO sometimes, but I also am a big fan of RPGs, JRPGs, and indie titles. So while we primarily do those two games, you will find other things as well. We are big inclusive community. We like, we do 3 learning progression raid groups a week. I know Jeb's been doing raiding groups as well. We got so many, everybody's just doing all sorts of stuff here in this space. So definitely check all of that out. But we always like to be a place where we not only focus on the things that we fell in love with about games initially, but have good discussions and critical thoughts in a respectful and welcoming space for everybody as well. So that's what we do. And next week, like Jeb said, on Tuesday, before everything, I will be the host of the pre-show. I'm so incredibly honored, and like I said earlier, there are so many other incredible ArenaNet partners that, honestly, if I'd had my way, all of us would have been in one room just yelling loudly, and that would have been the pre-show. But I'm so incredibly happy to be the host for the pre-show here for the live stream next Tuesday. You can catch me at 10 a.m. CT, 8 a.m. PT. I'm sorry, get your coffee, get your bathrobes, or, just, do whatever you do in the morning. I know a lot of people don't wear nothing. So, do you, and tune in, and we'll see you. Hopefully there, I will take all the support, and I'm very, very, very excited to see everything with everyone and catch all the other streams afterwards and in VODs and all that good stuff, because I know a bunch of everybody else here will be rebroadcasting and also have fantastic content that'll be made around it. So check them out as well.
27th of July. I'm
We
saying
love you,
next
Rook.
Tuesday.
You're gonna kill it.
It's gonna be awesome.
Thank you.
It's gonna be exciting. Okay, cool. Make sure everyone take the 27th. That's a Tuesday. If you're listening to this post, then I'd say go back and watch the Twitch VOD. Maybe. Hopefully, it'll be a release on YouTube as well. Normally, it is. Okay, awesome. Thank you again for coming on, Kriv. Tell us what you do. Where you do it.
Hi. So guys, my name is Kroof or something. I don't know if you guys heard. I'm just sometimes on the podcast, sometimes I'm not. I don't know. Really depends when I'm asked. Sometimes do YouTube stuff. Find me over at youtube.com @Kroof in all caps. And on Twitch, it's a little bit more annoying. It's Kroof Gaming _. I know. It's not harmonious. But you know what? Life is a whirlwind. Life, one might say, is a hurricane. But when you're in the eye, everything is peaceful. And I want to be that eye for you. So feel at peace coming around whenever you want. We talk about Guild Wars 2 stuff. And thank you so much for having me on. I always love being on this podcast. It's always so much fun. And yeah, everyone, please stay tuned for the 27th. A lot of good stuff. Hype everyone up and enjoy the community moments. So thank you for having me on. I'm so glad we got through this. It's been fun.
Awesome. Thank you, Coop, as well, for coming each week with some awesome looks.
Oh yeah, that too.
Yes.
Definitely check out the VODs as well. Do that. Go and have a look. Always giving us awesome information, some lore tidbits. We love those tidbits. Yes, we do. Okay.
Just a tidbit.
Also, wow. And also Boots is here. Congratulations. And that's the end of the show. Boots, what do you do? Where do you do it? It's always good to have you with your knowledge of the game and you're thinking about the things that we may not think about as just
exemplified. Boots, that's me. Hi, I'm Boots. You can find me at World Avengers on YouTube or on also the same thing on Twitter. You can also find me here apparently every Friday, as far as I can tell.
That's not happening anymore. That's done.
Okay, good. Because I got stuff to do next Friday. Also, you could find me at Hosts of Ascalon. I think we're going to do like a post show on maybe next Wednesday or something with Hosts of Ascalon, a very good podcast with Alona and Hashtag. And you will be able to see me also probably over on Wooden Potatoes Twitch channel during the announcement time. Obviously, everybody go to the official channel to go see Rook from 11 a.m. Eastern time to the time the actual thing starts. But when the actual thing starts, go over to Wooden Potatoes channel.
Go to my channel. No, and, that's wrong. That's wrong, Boots. That's not what you say. You say you stay here. And you watch
the only reason you go to Jebro's channel is because you actually see his face during the reaction, so you'll see him go.
I'm the reaction person. I'm the reaction person in Guild Wars. That's what you want.
Exactly. But for us, you'll hear a reaction with the voices. Our beautiful. One is a beautiful British voice and one is a beautiful Canadian voice, and we'll be saying beautiful things.
They'll be there, but I will also be streaming, and so we'll group, and so maybe we'll.
I'll be streaming. I'll give away some chests, but please don't watch Bird.
Oh my gosh, no! This is what has to happen. You got to open them all up in 4 different tabs, or if you have duo monitors, get all of them up. And then watch them all simultaneously.
Just a cacophony of sound.
I'm interested to what the hosting is going to be. I want to know so bad.
I'm so sorry. I can't say anything. And to anybody, I don't know the secrets. Everybody keeps coming in and being like, "Look, they told you everything."
Yeah. Well, that's what happened with us at PAX South. At PAX South, because we were on the panel for PAX South. There was me, Aurora Peachy, Bogotter, and.
You were also doing the post show though, so I feel like that would have been a bit more pressing.
Didn't know. That was we didn't know anything. They were just they just told us nothing, and then we literally with Jennifer Hale just in and talking was and then there was Ruby there, and we're like, we don't know anything. We're literally just talking about our hype before the thing comes out, and it's and then we're on stage. It's just really random. So I know where you are right now in that position because I've been there on stage.
Yeah, I loved watching that live stream. That was so much fun.
Whatever you do, don't go to the audience and ask a random guy in the audience a specific question about what you're excited about for Guild Wars 2.
I don't know if there is an audience.
Oh, there's not an audience, and that's good.
I better rethink what I was gonna do.
All right. It's going to be exciting. Next week, everyone make sure, if you're listening to this, obviously you've already heard it. Maybe we were right about some stuff. Maybe we weren't. Maybe there's not even been any stuff. But yes, I am Jebro. Jebro Unity on Twitch. Twitch.tv/JebroUnity. Jebro Unity on Instagram, on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitch, on all of the things. This is the last episode of the Elite Specialization Speculation Train of Awesome. First series, because the game the expansion ain't coming out till next year. So there will be more talk about Elite Specializations for sure in the future. The next show will be a reaction to the preview. Thank you so much for watching, listening, wherever you are in the world. I appreciate you and you being here and spending your time with us. I hope you're safe in your world, whatever is going on in your life. I hope you are going to take care of yourself as well, because that's an important thing to do. I will see you soon, and so will our awesome guests next time on the LightBringers. It's been episode 19. See you soon, and bye-bye.
Bye.